No, Bahamas Air, you know what their slogan is? If you have time to spare, take Bahamas Air. They don't even care about being an hour late. It's not even Spirit Airlines where you have the aggravated people up there at the desk frantically going around changing the time. They don't even give a shit, right? The plane's not even there yet. It's 4:30. We're supposed to take off at 4, and they still have big letters on time because they're on island time.
You're already late.
They have to put in parentheses island on island time. They don't give a flying one. I mean, there's no regard for time, whatsoever with Bahamas Air.
I'm on time. You will be 45 minutes late.
There's no plane in the hangar. Nothing at the gate. And then it does arrive, sometimes airlines, they hustle, they turn the thing around pretty quickly, and you're amazed, going, wow, that's a pretty good job there. Did you make sure you have enough gas to get to Cleveland?
Yeah, exactly.
They pull in, they're already an hour late. We'll take another hour. Why don't you guys go to the bar and have a Bahama Mama? A couple of maraschino cherries thrown in there right on the top there with some foam and some whipped cream. They don't care. If you have time to spare, fly Bahamas Air. I believe that is their marketing slogan.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. It is funny. Thinking about Bahamas Air, the last thing, as much as I love to travel, I would want to be doing today and or yesterday is flying somewhere. That looked brutal. And then driving somewhere was no bargain either. Gas prices are down, so people aren't bitching about that. But road conditions look to be pretty insane if you were anywhere outside of the state of Florida. The rest of the country is under an ice bath. And, they keep talking about this cold front coming. I'm schwitzing in here. I had to turn the air conditioner down.
Yeah, when is it coming?
They've been panicking us for 5 days, man. The guy on the weather, they got a new guy on CBS whose name escapes me, but that's not uncommon anymore. Most names are escaping me. He's got a dead iguana wrapped around his neck and one of those funny winter hats on, he was on his way to maybe enlist in the Russian army and go fight against the Ukraine. Well, they're not really fighting against the Ukraine. It's just going to the Ukraine and creating havoc, right? Bully syndrome. But anyway, I wouldn't want to be traveling anywhere. I mean, are you looking at any of the news reports about airports and airport conditions? Cancel. It's like that commercial I like where the woman goes to the refrigerator and she starts taking stuff out and goes, expired. But hopefully you've gotten to your destination today safely and or you're staying put, which we are, and we're happy to be with you, a pre-Christmas edition of Degenerate Friday. I don't know that it gets any richer than that. Pre-Christmas edition of Degenerate Friday. What would you want for Christmas except an 8-team parlay that came in, and you didn't even have to sweat out the final minutes. You had this thing in the bag wrapped up, as was the case last night, although I ended up on the wrong end of 2 games yesterday in my personal bookmaking venture. Now, I knew I was going to lose one of them because my best bet of the day would have been the Jaguars over the Jets with Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson, you know what? Have you ever... I guess they used to have the kind of titles to cases on the People's Court when Wapner was prevalent before Judge Judy kind of got into the game. And a People's Court would decide these ridiculous cases. Some cat pissed on your fence and, you were suing your neighbor for, the $38 it took for the touch-up paint to, correct it. And Wapner was very serious about it. You would have thought that he was deciding Roe versus Wade and was the last holdout from the conservatives on the Supreme Court that was ready to rubber stamp the idea that let's inhibit anybody's chance to go out there and have a good life and have freedoms. It's, the beginning. That's how it goes, right? First they take away this, then they take away that. James Dolan, by the way, would be good on the Supreme Court, the way that he operates, right? Because it's all or nothing with Dolan. Did you see what he did, Lubie? He has a thing that face traces attorneys that are working for all attorneys that work for firms that are suing Madison Square Garden or have any litigation against him and or any of his companies, his entities. And he actually, a woman who was one of the attorneys at a law firm that happens to be involved in a case against Madison Square Garden, showed up with her Girl Scout troops to Radio City Music Hall to see the Rockettes or whatever. I don't know, some show that was going on there, some Christmas show. And she was identified by the face tracing. And so he had her thrown out. Dolan, can you believe that? I mean, here's little Girl Scouts are there with their scout leader, and she's an attorney and obviously doing a very nice thing, taking a bunch of little brats out to see a show, Radio City Music Hall. It's a big deal for a little kid, right? You go in there, you see these women kicking their legs up. A lot of guys like to see that also. But and he throws her out based on the fact that she works for a law firm that he's not a big fan of. Unbelievable. That's the true Christmas spirit. But a maniac there.
Okay.
Yesterday, though, I mean, have you ever on the People's Court, right? This case would be known as saddled with a stiff. Saddled with a stiff. What do you do if you're the New York Jets, right? They give Zach Wilson the job back out of unfortunate circumstance. They didn't want to. Maybe, and do you want to throw in the towel on this guy? I mean, is this Ryan Tannehill too with the Dolphins? Because Tannehill eventually developed into a serviceable quarterback. I don't know that he was ever great, but he had a year where he looked really good. He did revert back, as Lubie says very gleefully. He did revert back to being Ryan Tannehill under pressure moments. But for the most part, I mean, what was a couple of years ago when he first got to Tennessee? Looked like he was actually, maybe in the top dozen anyway, quarterbacks in the league, which is saying something, right? That's upper third, and seemed to be a very serviceable guy. Zach Wilson, did he show any of those tendencies? We didn't really blame Tannehill completely for the failures of the Miami Dolphins while he was the quarterback of the team. Now, he was a guy who could overthrow a small country. And, typically, even though, we've been searching for a guy with a big arm for a long time, he would overthrow wide open receivers by 20 yards. And that was, discouraging if you were going to embrace Ryan Tannehill as a franchise quarterback. But whoever really thought, besides Mike Tannenbaum, that Ryan Tannehill was a guy that you were going to, say, wow, you know what? We are set for the next 20 years. This is going to be just like, breaking Aaron Rodgers in and finally talking Brett Favre into leaving the franchise. I don't know that anybody really thought that.
No.
And is it any shame, disgrace to have a quarterback that's very good that you can win with? That's kind of what you're hoping Tua evolves into, which he got the shaft. Did you see that?
I mean, he's very good now. Will he be elite? Will he be franchise guy? I mean, look, the AFC has a lot of really good quarterbacks. The problem is when it comes to stats, which is usually how you rank guys, he's top 3 in every major quarterback category.
Right, but here's the thing that you have to look at, right? Okay, I mean, there are certain criteria that I look at in a quarterback, and it is the difference between being an elite quarterback and just another guy that happens to have some ability that, if everything goes his way, you're going to have a winning team. If you look at it, nobody likes Kirk Cousins, right? Nobody would put their faith in Kirk Cousins to take him to a Super Bowl. He gets paid a lot of money. He milked the system, better than anybody since Neil O'Donnell. Kirk Cousins, getting franchise tagged every year. The escalation of salaries was insane for quarterbacks, and he benefited because he had to be, somewhere in the average of the top 5 paid quarterbacks, and guys are getting $40 million. So all of a sudden, Kirk Cousins, I don't know, slightly above journeyman status. What would you say Kirk Cousins deserves to be rated? Certainly not franchise quarterback. I mean, are you thinking, wow, if we get Kirk Cousins, we're going right to the top? Now, his team's got a winning record. They're in a lot of close games. But what you need from a quarterback, okay, there's 3 minutes to go in a ball game, and you're up by 3 points. And you get the ball back. And, the guy doesn't necessarily have to march you right down the field for a score, but he has to be able to grind out enough first downs and eat up clock to clinch the game. These are the kind of things you look for. You can't afford to have a 3 and out or a turnover in that spot or get sacked for a 20-yard loss. So you now have to punt the ball away. Comebacks, of course, would obviously be a great measuring stick. How does the guy stack up late in the fourth quarter when you need him to do something and you don't necessarily have an easy time of it because the other team isn't going Red Sea. And, they're putting pressure on and, can you stand up to that and make big plays under those circumstances? Tua has shown signs of life in that category, but I don't know that we've seen enough evidence late in games of him being able to, we had a couple of times this year where he orchestrated marvelous comebacks early in the season, but then when he started to waffle a little bit, and you have to be able to sustain it over 17 games now and 18 weeks, which It's not an easy thing to do either. But if you can consistently have good games, maybe you throw in one stinker here and there. But Tua's had, for the most part, really good games. I don't know that he's proven himself to be elite, but he gets 300,000 votes in the fan voting or something to go to the Pro Bowl, and then he doesn't make the Pro Bowl. He was a leading vote getter.
Yeah, that one is
So what's
weird.
up with the fan balloting, man? Is this going back to the fat kid with the knitting needle that punches all the tickets? Now everything is done online. He gets the most votes. So what were they all voting in Hawaii? What the hell was going on with that?
Maybe a lot of Miami and Hawaii. What I don't get is then why I never liked the fan voting, so good for them for telling the fans you're stupid. But then why do you have it?
I mean, does it count for a small percentage of
Yes.
the criteria to make it to the Pro Bowl? Fan voting is worth like 10%, and then they just ignore it. No, and they can't complain about the guys that made the Pro Bowl out of the AFC ahead of Tua. But here's the leading vote getter of all players that were in the NFL. I mean, NFC and AFC. And he does no better than fourth in terms of Pro Bowl consideration. Josh Allen, naturally, you would have to put in there. Patrick Mahomes, you're thinking is a cinch. And Joe Burrow are the three guys that made it at quarterback. Tua, out of the picture, man. OOP, as they used to say in dog racing. Justified with those three guys? Yeah, I would have to say yes. I would take all three of those guys ahead of Tua Tagovailoa, no matter how good he's looked in spots this season. And that's the other thing. I mean, he's looked good in spots, real good. And then at other times, it's not like he's been completely ineffective, but hasn't shown that, no matter what, the one guy that you can count on that's going to come through, even when other guys are struggling, is your quarterback. And I don't know that he's going to be able to prove that this year. We'll see. This is another big test for him, right? He's hold up well against the Green Bay Packers. Not exactly a juggernaut of a team with a losing record that comes in here at 6-8. Aaron Rodgers looked like he had it together, but I said this the other day, and it's a total contrast and a complete conflict of thoughts. That it seems like he's engaged at times, and yet in a season, and for the last couple of years, doesn't it seem like Aaron Rodgers is totally detached
Oh yeah,
from being a Green Bay Packer? It's not like he's wearing fuzzy Thurston in his heart.
Like he loves to complain about his teammates.
Yeah,
but he looks out of it, and he's barely involved, and he's playing.
He looks loopy, doesn't he? Like he should be. I mean, he's quarterbacking as if he was on the Pat McAfee show and just sitting there with a funny hat on and a weird look on his face, going, "Man, these mushrooms are really starting to kick in." What do you want to talk about, Pat? Anyway, this would be a nice way to acquit himself. If Tua goes out there, has a big game against the Packers, helps the Dolphins clinch a playoff berth. The Jets damage their chances of making the playoffs as they lost last night in pathetic fashion. They ended up putting Chris Streveler, who was a preseason hero, into the game. This guy's been inactive for, I believe, every game this year. He either was on the practice squad, or I think he was activated for or on the roster for one game, and then he was deemed to be inactive for that game. He did not make the 47-man eligibility roster there, as they have the roster of 53 and 6 guys for some reason. I really don't understand this, and that's something Jimmy Johnson was always talking about. Why do you have 53 guys on a roster, and then you have to tell like 6 guys are, what is it, they play 47? 6 guys have to sit in the stands with street clothes on? That seems very insulting, doesn't it? I mean, if you're a professional football player.
Practice all week. All right, go sit there.
And you're on the team. It's not like you're on the practice squad. You're on the team. Sunday comes, and then your name pops up on the inactive list. And you're thinking, I'm feeling fine. I don't have a broken toe like DeForest there. Yeah, that's a weird thing. Why doesn't the NFL change that? What's the difference if 6 more guys are eligible for the game? How confusing could that get? And it just seems so indignant to tell a pro guy that's on the roster that you're not playing without an injury. I never got that. I guess did they do that in all sports? I don't think so. No, you don't have enough guys on a basketball roster where a guy would be inactive, although you could look at UD for the last 7 years. But he knows he's not going into the game, except that game that he started, which tells you all you need to know about the Heat season, that they were starting Udonis Haslem, a 58-year-old Udonis Haslem, at some point. But I lost both the games I booked against Francesco last night. No, he makes the picks.
One of the Jags, even though you you agreed?
Oh, the Jags, I thought were the biggest cinch going. That would have been one of my best bets of the season. I mean, it really would have. The Jets, we were talking about it yesterday.
We were,
You
yep.
come to certain points in the season where one team is on the ascent, the other team is in despair and complete decline,
Yep.
and now they're having to go back to a guy that they benched for an unknown. This is their number 2 overall pick in the draft,
Last year. Like it's last year.
and now you really have to wonder: are you saddled with a stiff? And this is not the first stiff of that variety. We just had Sam Darnold in there. They gave him every chance. Now, they had a horrible offensive line, probably were poorly coached, and really didn't have a whole lot of talent surrounding him. They have a better defense this year, so that should help out a quarterback because you're going to actually get on the field a little bit. And yet, Zach Wilson, I didn't watch all of this game, but I saw enough to look and say, my God, these people that are trying to, hang their hopes and their hat on Zach Wilson are fucked. Are they not?
My favorite was the Jets fans raining boos the entire game. The entire game.
Yeah, he sort of become a little bit unlikable for a guy that was very likable before he got his career going.
That's crazy.
I guess if you're going to produce bad results, being an aloof playboy probably isn't. It worked for Joe Willie, but he was good. Statistically, people would try and knock it, but I can assure you, having been at many of those Joe Willie games at Shea when I was vending, for the 5 years that I was working there. And it was all Joe Namath, including the 69 Super Bowl, which was the culmination of that 5-year period of my life. That it was just like Danny Boy, only maybe not quite as dynamic in terms of the kind of throws that he was making. But there were a lot of idiosyncrasies to playing quarterback at Shea Stadium because of the wind and the wind variant and all of that stuff. And Joe would just snake one in there. And he had great receivers. And George Sauer, never mentioned really, as one of the great receivers of all time. You remember George Sauer? George Sauer, Don Maynard. And they usually had Pete Lamons was the tight end. He was great. Excellent pass catchers they had. And they had guys, Snell and Boozer could catch the ball out of the backfield. So you essentially had a 5-pronged attack that you could throw to behind a pretty decent offensive line, led by a guy I think played 60 years in the NFL, Sherman Plunkett. The original, we'll have to get Sarny verification on this. The original 300-pounder, I believe, in the National Football League, was it not Sherman Plunkett, New York Jets offensive lineman? What do you think? First guy to tip the scales at 300 plus.
Sure.
And you don't, I don't know. What do you think?
No idea if there's
Guys weren't that big back then, Lubie. You didn't have like routine where you would watch some, FCS school or whatever, and all of their linemen are 320. That didn't happen back then in the day. All right, many things happening here on the program. We're going to get into it. The Greek is going to join us here with his selections. Want to handicap some things for the weekend here. That gimme game last night. I mean, how could you not have? And a lot of people were thinking under. We talked to Brandon Lang yesterday, and he said bet the under. The under was a relatively tepid total. And it ended up being a well. One was the final 19-3. They scored 22 points in the game. Pretty ugly. Trevor Lawrence is coming along, though. No,
yes, he is.
I mean, when I was watching the game, he looked pretty good.
No
they what?
May have no talent. Etienne's finally playing like a guy that was a high draft pick, but their receiving core sucks. I can't even name you. I mean, so the fact that they're putting it together is going to be scary for that division because the rest of the division sucks.
Trevor Lawrence runs really well, man. He's got Josh Allen running ability, and he's fairly fast also. And not afraid to get in there and mix it up a little bit. He's
a great straight line runner. He's not elusive, but if he has a lane, he can hit it.
But he gets around on the outside, and he does, like you said. If he gets the old Vince Lombardi, a seal over here and a seal over here, he's able to work his way right through that as if he was Jim Taylor or Paul Hornung, man, the golden boy. Unbelievable. I used to see him at the track all the time. I always loved hanging out with Paul Hornung. Real gregarious, nice, affable fellow. Very amiable cat. Paul Hornung, right? It's always nice when you meet somebody that's of that level of reverence. Now, you weren't around really when Hornung was popular as a player. But he was great. He really was the golden boy of that era. And very, very popular. And yet with the humility to just hang out with a bunch of guys at the track. Drinks over there for everybody. He was really, really a good guy. Degenerates have that in common, I think. That they're usually a little bit more open and friendly, unless they're the kind of degenerate that just is sulking all the time because they can't fucking buy a win. All right, you want to cut to the Greek? You want to cut to some commercial messages? What do you want to do, Libby? All right, we'll take a little break here. We'll tell you about Hialeah Park. You got Hialeah Park up in the background. Wow. Please do yourselves a favor, people. If you're looking for stuff to do, a lot of people loneliness on the holidays. People talk about that. They get all depressed and bummed out. Just jog down to Hialeah Park. And if you are a family and everybody's having a good time, get down there and get in the spirit of things. They have a fantastic thing going for a New Year's Eve party. I don't know if that's totally booked yet, but should check that out at hialeahpark.com. And I'll have the full calendar of events and all the great things that are happening. And then this is only the beginning of what's going to be just a lights out year in 2023 at Hialeah Park. It's going to be fantastic. The boxing coming up in February. I've had a couple of people inquire about that. And it's really, really going to be something. They have some real hot prospects on the card. And, they always put on a good show there. The atmosphere could not be better. Rivaled only by my days at the Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles or the Sunnyside Garden in New York. Maybe a big fight at Madison Square. But this just has a great vibe and a great feel to it. And, I love it. You get all of the people, and they got brass, sections going there in the stands for their favorite Cuban fighters who are on the card. And then a bunch of talent going to be on display there at Hialeah Park. That's coming up in February. Like I said, check the calendar of events. You can sign up on our Facebook page. It'll give you a lot of information there. Get a player's card when you come through the door. You'll get all kinds of promotional considerations and probably the best and most beneficial rewards program I've seen of any casino. Certainly of a local variety that's not involved in some big corporate thing like Caesars. But, wow, for an individual standalone casino to offer these kind of rewards and amenities for their clientele, just absolutely fantastic. So great food and drink all over the place. The Champion Simulcasting Room will be rocking. All kinds of racing taking place over the weekend as well. So make your plans and clear your social calendar. Make it part of your itinerary to visit beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, Louie and I coming right back with the Greek. Always good checking in with the Greek. I mean, he is a man's man, this guy. Doesn't mess around. At like 12 years old, he was going to underground casinos in New York. And, it looked like, one of those scenes where you had to go through like a bunch of trap doors to finally, get to your destination there. And then you would pick up whatever illicit property it was that they were selling. And then you were lucky if you could work your way back out. That was the big gamble. It was almost like James Caan in The Original Gambler, where it was like he goes into a bad neighborhood and enjoys getting his throat slashed. Incredible. The Greek lives on that kind of dangerous razor's edge. That's what we like about the kid. And at the same time, he's a proud resident of Boca Raton, Florida. So a study in contrast coming up next. The Greek joining us here on the Defo Show. I'm Jeff DeForest. That's Mike Lubie Lubitz. Back with more on South Florida Live and the Defo Show in a moment. Now that. And we have the full complement of people. The professor, he's in. Big board. I could use a professor big board. Cheer me out of this little funk I'm in with the being incapacitated partially. It's amazing what one toe can do to your overall well-being. You wouldn't think anything of it, right? Just chop it off. You go Ronnie Lott, man. My finger's busted. Chop it off. Remember that? He stayed in the game. He cut his finger off.
Yes, he did.
That was crazy.
Fucking insane.
Ronnie Lott, man. That's dedication. I don't know if I ever had that kind of dedication to a sport, right?
Oh, no,
Imagine Andy Mogish coming over to me when I was there at the Cuse, the buzzard. Defo, I want you to cut your middle finger off so your ball will break a little bit more. I don't think so, Coach. I think I'll just go on an extended spring break. Here's your uniform. I was going to keep the shirt. All right. I should have kept that, right? Shouldn't I? I mean, of all the things I didn't sneak away with, I had one hat that I saved, and that thing went up in smoke a long time ago. All right, back with more. The Greek in a moment. The professor going to be with us. Mark Lawrence, always great. And Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet. And Mike Mayo's turned Friday, Degenerate Friday, into a true Degenerate Friday with his new gig, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox at Gulfstream Park. We'll be out there later on today, so that should be a lot of fun. Back in a moment. Now that. The time. 7:26.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?
A guy 66 years old wants a roommate if it's a guy.
You're
And
66. You look great.
I wouldn't go that far, Greek. It's one
Decent.
thing.
Mediocre.
Start your day with a cup of Defo. We now return to the Defo Show.
Rarely would you accuse a Greek of making gratuitous commentary there, but I did not look great at 66. But he sees that as ancient, which is kind of cool. I mean, you'll get there, Greek. We welcome to the show, and welcome back to the show, everybody. Good to have you with us here on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubie Lubitz, a very celebratory Mike Lubie Lubitz, as he's getting ready for a big Christmas weekend. And we welcome to the show our good friend, man. We got hooked up with this guy a while back, Mike Nyman of Gulfstream Park marketing fame, who was always very good to me and backed everything that we ever did, which is fantastic. And we perpetually and eternally will appreciate that. Said, you'll really like this guy. There's this guy at a Greek. He comes out. He's with some Palm Beach station. I thought, naturally in my pompous, big market mentality, I was thinking Palm Beach. What kind of weenie could this guy be? And it turns out he owns the Palm Beach station.
Exactly.
And several others. And in fact, he's second only to whoever the head guy is at iHeart right now.
Exactly.
And that would be the Greek. We welcome him to the show. And it turned out Nyman was right. He turns out to be a great guy. Greek, how are you, my friend?
Happy holidays, guys. How you doing today?
Happy holidays, sir.
We're doing great. Now, how does the Greek do Christmas? I mean, do you have to feign being Jewish, to accommodate your Jewish friends?
The bulk of people.
Yeah, I
Bulk
try
of
to
people?
spread it around, Yeah, I spread it around, Hit Strikes Tonight, New York Prime, stuff like that. Little
All right.
quieter, less to spend. There's no doubt about it. But, it is the holidays. I'm going to try to go up to New York this week for a couple of days.
Good luck with that. Yeah. Are you walking? How are you getting there?
Probably Wednesday I'm going to go. The Jets want me to talk to the team.
Oh, okay. By Wednesday, you'll be okay. Today would be probably a horror show, I would think, just based on the panic about the weather across the country, which, it's funny because I thought this cold snap was hitting like 2 nights ago. The weather people are all bundled up like Eskimos. And I understand even the people at Meisner Park were considering eating each other's flesh to stay alive, even though it was 80 degrees outside because of the panic. I mean, as if they had just crashed the plane into the Andes Mountains.
People in Florida.
What's that?
People in Florida when it gets like 70, they melt.
Yeah. 70, right. Their teeth are chattering. I mean, goosebumps. They're bundled up.
Exactly.
We get the occasional cold day. I guess we have one coming. Now, how do you handle that, Greek? I mean, do you stay inside the whole day, or do you go out there and start throwing snowballs
No,
at
I go out.
the Gucci
Get
store?
a chance to wear some of my Gucci, jackets and stuff that got a little fur in them. Just to go out there. I miss the cold, rare. I love South Florida. I love the weather. I always have. That's what brought me down here. And, I like the weather. When it gets cold, I don't like it cold too much. a few days is okay.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Even a little stretch. It was a few years ago. I want to say it was like 12, 15 years ago now, where we had like the coldest winter in the history of the state. And for like 30 days in a row, it was, kind of cold outside.
I remember that winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that winter. My boss picked up lunch, and that's what brought on the cold streak.
We're in hell.
How are things going, Greek? I mean, you're still in that ancient medium radio, and it's going well for you, is it not?
He's doing fine.
I got no complaints. And if isn't today Festivus, where you can bitch about everything?
Yeah, go ahead and bitch all you want.
I'm bitching that Halle Berry isn't with me tonight. That's what I'm bitching about.
That's not a
Wild Red Berry would have more of a chance of being with you, I think, than Halle Berry.
Maybe Rudolph. Maybe it should be me and Halle. Maybe sit at Breakers, have a glass of champagne, talking about you. When she looks at me and says, "Hot Defo."
What is your game plan? I mean, are you going out tonight?
I'm already out. I've been out since 6 o'clock. I'm gonna hit the car wash, drop off some stuff to a good buddy of mine. Poinsettia, some Tito's. Then I'm going to the mall. I got to do some shopping. I'm meeting a friend for lunch, which you know what that means.
Oh yeah. Is it that same one that was rolling down that Lubie was drooling on?
She was great.
Where you had the two martini glasses sitting on her breasts and not a drop was spilling?
I didn't say anything about that.
No, she's around, but it's
only in the rotation. Very nice. You're like the Yankees, man, just picking up free agents, so one after another.
I wouldn't call it a rotation. I would call it people who feel. I call it more people who want to do charity.
Yeah.
I used to like to work with a 4 or 5, person rotation. That was always good at different times. And then my unfortunate tendency was to profess unwavering love for all of them, and then one of them would take me up on it, and I would have to make some sort of commitment. And that was it. And that's usually where things went south.
Let me ask you, Devo, what's on your list? What could Santa bring you?
Well, I'm hobbled. I'm on IR. I broke my toe on some rocks in the Bahamas. And I went out in the water, and I got smacked against, just an unseen wall of rocks. And I found out I broke my toe about a week later. I finally went to the doctor. So it's sort of inhibiting me quite a bit. You wouldn't think for a second that, that kind of injury could hold you back. But it's taken me out of my game completely. Can't do my walk of life, Yeah.
Well, let me help you. Don't tell people you broke your toe in the Bahamas. They won't feel bad. Say you were delivering toys to kids and you fell down the stairs. you did something. You broke your toe in the Bahamas. Like, really?
You, of all people, could appreciate my quest to find an unscrupulous personal injury attorney. That happens to be. I was actually trying to check out who was defending Bankman-Fried because they obviously, have some pull there in the Bahamas.
He's the best. Well, my buddy, he's the best, Jason Weiser.
Oh yeah, he'll take any case. That's good.
Don't actually give him a
It's causing me a lot of mental stress. I'm really messed up about this. I'm totally fucked up.
Oh my God, you are a trip. Yeah, I gotta go. Go ahead. What are you gonna do? You broke your toe in the Bahamas. Who's gonna feel bad for you when you say that word? Say you broke your toe.
A little bit of empathy. You're probably the first guy to say, "Go fuck yourself." I mean,
I love the idea of you were giving gifts to the poor and tripped.
And you tripped.
Who would believe that?
No, I was playing Santa and a fat kid stepped on my foot. What do you think?
That's right. Yeah, you were helping Amazon deliver. You felt bad.
That's unbelievable.
And you're like, Jeff Bezos.
A food drive.
You're doing shit.
I was giving out turkeys in Palm Beach with Don King.
Yeah.
Greek does do that, actually.
Fell off the truck.
I did it every year.
Greek does it every year.
Nice.
We don't.
No, we're not really involved in a lot of charitable efforts.
I'm not involved in anything.
I knew that. I knew that the day you met me. I knew the day I met you, you weren't involved in a lot of charitable efforts.
What's the point, man? Everybody to each his own. No, I empathize with a lot of causes. I just don't really do much about it except think about it. All right. Speaking of charity, I did think last night's game was charitable, and I think that if you get onto things in certain streaks, especially in the NFL, it's been fairly easy pickings this year. You just have to believe in the unbelievable. which is that the 1-6 Lions will then go on a
Yes.
run
Yes.
and win 6 of their next 7.
Yep.
That the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Chiefs will be the worst team. I mean, you're up like 14 units if you took a side against them every week. So if you're in your category where you're betting $5 a game, you're up $70,000 just betting against those two teams. How easy is that? Easy pickings. Very charitable.
Yeah, sure. You sound like one of those guys from Vegas. All right, last week, if you had the Colts or the Patriots, don't ever bet again.
I had the Colts. I was getting 3. The line went off 3 in a hook, but my friend who gets his lines out of the Jewish Journal only gave me 3. And I actually did not feel safe at halftime. I have to say that. I wasn't ready to concede the win. Yeah. You imagine? And my friend was losing at a ratio that was just incredible. He had gone 1-11 in his previous 12 picks. So, which is constantly a reminder to me that it's always good to be the house because you have a much more favorable chance, especially when you're charging them $1.10 to win $1 every time a guy tears up a losing ticket. But I mean, there have been some fairly easy, teams to bet against. And last night's game, you had the Jets.
There's nothing easy. There's nothing easy. If it was
Look
easy,
at last night. Come on, Green.
You be living in Palm Beach next to Trump. It's easy. His sister's ass is easy. I love guys like you. You're like my buddy. He loses a bet. He goes, I had the right side. I should have won. I go, you lost. You didn't have the right side.
Well, that's a horse player. I mean, constantly.
Exactly.
Hey, you see how he ran, man? He was right there. Yeah, but you're tearing up your ticket, schmuck. Here, can I have your racing form while you get back to your car there and try and find more funds in the ashtray?
The only thing last night I would bet on Zach Wilson if he was banging one of his mother's girlfriends. Besides that, I knew he was not to make it in New York. The kid he doesn't have it. He really doesn't. Yeah. He played on BYU.
Total stiff.
BYU, bro, one great athlete, Jim McMahon. He doesn't have it to be a quarterback in New York. He doesn't.
No. Well, Steve Young wasn't bad.
Wasn't
coming out of BYU. You have to give him credit.
Joe, Hall of Famer. Excuse me. There was a couple guys, but
that's about it.
He's just that conference.
That's it, though. No, you have the whole list.
That's about it. Yeah.
Young and McMahon. That's it.
Honestly.
Who was that guy that was around? He was a little guy, man, and he was around forever. He kind of was like it was like Ty Detmer.
Well, Ty
Detmer,
Ty Detmer. Yeah, he played a long time in the league. He was never good.
Remember that guy? Wow. I mean, I would bet against him every week. Ty Detmer. It's a midget, like a bobblehead doll playing football. It was crazy. All right, how you hitting the ball games? You doing all right with that? Did you go to the Boca Bowl? I would imagine. Didn't you have to, flip the coin at the Boca Bowl or do something there? Weren't you operating one of the Botox booths on the way in?
The Botox booths.
No, I had a fashion event with Prada, so I couldn't make it.
Nice.
Last night there was a good hot pick. Air Force, Army, and Navy. The last 18 games are 15 and 3 against the spread. Then last night Air Force.
Wow.
I guess they should like that yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. A day late.
Oh no, they cremated Baylor team that was favored at 6-6. They were 9-3. You could tell from the first drive. I should have texted Lubie that one was over.
Well, Baylor.
Baylor
actually yesterday it was like announced before the game, like 6 or 7 of their guys weren't playing.
Yeah.
So that sort of changed things.
And also, I mean, Air Force, they control the ball. They had the ball 41 minutes.
Yes.
They're like one of my ex-girlfriends with my American Express card. They don't want to give the ball.
I like the fact this guy goes for fourth down all the time, too, the Air Force coach, and makes it like 80% of the time.
Yeah, I saw Elijah one night playing blackjack. Same thing. All the time. Hit me on 15. I'm like, wow, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
You want some picture?
Yes. We do want some picks, Greek. We want to win some money. Everybody needs a little Christmas money. And imagine you hit these, especially these Saturday NFL games, which has a huge slate. And you tell your bookie, hey, you meet me under the tree, man, right there in the, Delray Square. All right, fire away, Greek. Give us your picks for this week.
I'm going to go against the trend on a couple of these games. I'm going to go with the Packers beating the Dolphins. I just think
Lubie almost burped up his breakfast there.
I'm going to go with the Bengals over the Patriots.
Okay.
And I'm going to go, it's going to come out that Giselle has been seeing Kevin Hart. And that's why she broke up the marriage. That's going to come out Saturday night.
She's got something going. I believe Brady is operating under a curse this entire season. Have you been to Brazil? I mean, have you experienced anything, any matters of the occult in your lifetime, Greek? I know you used to venture into some very dangerous spots. We were talking about it before you came on when you were in those poker games. Oh, you were playing roulette, where, in the next room they were playing Russian roulette, and you were playing roulette with a bunch of, what shall we say, guys that, might have had some family ties. Did we lose the Greek on that note? Wow. All right. That's the way it goes in show business, right? Climactic moment. You figure you set them up for the big punchline here. It's like, go ahead, hit me. And gone in 60 seconds. All right, we got the plays there. Bengals. Let me look at that game here. Bengals.
Yeah, Bengals laying 3 over New England is what I have.
And that must be with the Patriots at home.
Yes.
See, the Bengals have been really strange this year, haven't they? I mean, they started out 0-2, and everybody was saying, well, no 0-2 team has ever made it to the playoffs in the history of the NFL, going all the way back to Y.A. Tittle, Sammy Baugh, Laura Baugh, anybody named Baugh. And then they started bouncing back a little bit, as you would have expected. And they actually suffered like a couple of really tough losses, didn't they? But Burrow, throughout his brief career, has been getting sacked at an inordinate rate. I mean, just to the point where you're thinking, that is a problem that badly needs to be solved, is it not? Now, they were getting smoked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a losing record team, Brady notwithstanding. And it was 17-0 with like a few seconds to go in the half before they finally put a weak concessionary field goal up on the board to make it 17-3, and Tampa Bay was going to get the ball to start the second half.
Yes.
And I don't know, I mean, you could have been looking for a brown stain on the back of Tom Brady's pants.
He shit himself.
Remember when Offerdahl was telling us a story about how he shit in his pants while he was on the field there and he had to keep playing?
And he just kept playing.
He was afraid to tell Shula he needed to go to the bathroom to change his underwear, man. What kind of medication do you think they had him on to have him lose complete control of his bodily functions?
I mean,
except for being a outrageously aggressive, animalistic tackler at that point. But yeah, I mean, I've never seen a worse series of possessions than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had to start the third quarter. And it went like 4 possessions deep, didn't it? And they never raised a gallop after that. Cincinnati was doing its best to lose this ball game. They really were.
That's what they do.
They got hammered in the first half, and they couldn't even capitalize. They were settling for field goals themselves. They were getting the ball at like the 23-yard line and gaining no yardage, and settling for like even losing yards back to the 30 and settling for like a 47-yard field goal. And that would barely make it through. I mean, it was very perilous what they were doing, the Cincinnati Bengals in that game. And then I guess they exploded late because the Buccaneers just
fell apart.
As we said, everybody had a stain in their pants. I don't know about Bowles as a head coach. I never was a huge fan. He's not like a decent guy. Yeah.
No, he's not good. I wanted him that year when the Dolphins were looking for a coach, and he was a DC, and then the Jets.
Bowles, yeah.
And the Jets took him, and it just hasn't. I mean, look,
that's so anti-Rooney Rule, though, Lubie. I mean, am I going to be, depicted as some right-wing?
He's not a good coach,
Klansman. But this has nothing to do with race or color.
I'm not saying other black guys can't coach. I just know Todd Bowles has now had multiple chances. He's not good. I mean,
and he looks like he is not connected there on the sidelines. He has a little bit of an Adam Gase gaze. Not necessarily Gase when the game was on, but when we saw him at that introductory press conference, which really changed my entire perspective on Adam Gase. I mean, it was one thing to rip him for not being able to do anything with Tannehill, and we constantly were going, oh, well, he's a quarterback whisperer. I guess nobody can hear this guy. And then he got the Jets job, which was amazing. I mean, think about the bungling, idiotic, moronic maneuvers the Jets front office has made over the last 50 years since Joe Willie was chucking the rock. right? I mean, it's been a series of blunders, the likes of which, I mean, they had a very brief period there where somehow, by, I mean, complete bizarre blind luck with Mark Sanchez, they made it to 2 AFC title games. I don't know that Sanchez had that much to do with it. Actually, they probably could have gone well beyond those title games and won Super Bowls if they had a real quarterback. No? What do you think?
Yes, I agreed.
That was a year that I will always remember, although I don't remember the exact year. But that season was when the Colts deliberately tanked a game against the Jets
Yes.
and then got knocked down in the first round of the playoffs by those very same Jets.
Yes.
How great was that?
I don't think it was the first round because they were the number 1 seed. So I think they had a bye. It was the second round.
But had they not tanked that game, the Jets would have been nowhere to be seen.
Jets weren't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
They had a chance to go undefeated, and they were like, no, we don't care about that. So the Jets won, and the Jets beat the Bengals. I think the Bengals, and then the Jets beat them in the second round.
It adds substance to our theory. Don't get cute, right?
And Mike McDaniel.
Team tries to maneuver its way into a better matchup in the postseason, so they deliberately lose a game, and guess what? It happened with Bill Belichick. I mean, the greatest of all time.
Yep.
Right? Belichick, when he had Steven Jackson. Was that the guy's name? Steven Jackson? Running the football. He picked him up out of a gas station, and he hadn't been in the league for like a couple of years, and then he ran him 30 times against the Dolphins on the closing day of the season. Guess what? He ended up having to go on the road to Denver and playing like 3-degree temperatures against Peyton Manning, a crippled Peyton Manning, who managed to somehow beat the Patriots because they had compromised their position by getting cute. Unbelievable. Yes. Belichick hasn't commented on that play yet, has he?
No. He's had comments. I don't know what he said toward the play. I'm sure he just grumbled.
I doubt that he would consider using Jacoby Myers on an option pass play. See, now that would really be something, huh? If you just put Myers in motion, pitched the ball back to him, had him run out to the right side, and chuck one down the field now to make amends.
Yeah, there you go.
For pretty much dashing any hopes that the Patriots had of being in the postseason and disqualifying my man, Bill Belichick, in the sense that I thought he was doing a great job with a shit team.
He was.
Right? I know the professor will take issue with this, but
he's a scumbag.
They were supposed to be bad. Yeah. This has nothing to do with whether he's a scumbag or not, right? Would people care if the president was a scumbag if they were actually benefiting from the things that he did?
I usually think they are scumbags. I just don't give a shit.
It's like you opened up Hunter Biden's laptop.
You
could think the old man is a very charitable soul and he's doing a lot of decent things, but you know what? He's got this kid. Just happened to be getting $600,000 a month from the Ukraine with no qualifications in the gas and oil industry. Way to go. All of a sudden, he's an expert on all things matters of international energy. All right. Speaking of energy, the professor always brings it to the table. So we'll feature the professor. He'll have a big board for us and no doubt some selections. How's he been doing in the bowl games? Has he been feeling pretty good about what's happening?
Doing okay. We had the other day where he hit both plays if he went on the spread.
Yeah.
I know he had.
That was the day that you got buried with your money line parlay. Good job. Yes, don't get cute.
Yeah, but he did hit with the spread there. I know he had South Alabama the other day, and that didn't go so well. I don't know what he had yesterday. I know he had action yesterday, but I don't know what he had. But we'll see.
If you're a small bettor, are you better off going for like wild exotic stuff, like an 18 parlay?
You'd have to ask him.
I mean, because it's not sexy. If you're betting like $25, like you were saying, Lubie, is it sexy to win 25 or 24 or whatever? And and then win 2 games and you're up 50 for the night after winning two games. Not easy to do. Or you if you're only outlaying a small amount of money, would you rather lose like 20 times in a row but still have a shot that if your 18 parlay hit, you were going to pick up 3 dimes? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't bet enough for any of that. I'll leave that to Ken. I usually, if I am dabbling, and it had been years, and he threw a good play, so that's why I went for it. We'll look for a good underdog money line play.
I would think that the professor would wipe the floor with his bookmaker in the bowl season.
He does well. Yes.
Yeah. All right. We'll bring him on next. Coming up in just a few moments here. On a Degenerate Friday. Later on, Mark Lawrence, ultimate trend handicapper, always picks the dogs. And Mike Mayo, who we're going to see later on today at Gulfstream Park as well. I'll have some, stuff for us on the show as well. How'd it go yesterday at the
went really
Argentinian place? Yeah, it looked pretty fancy
Mickey
there.
Mohan's amazing.
Yeah. What'd she do, man? She chowed down a little bit
She
on the
just,
show?
unlike us, she'll eat on air, but it doesn't look like a slob fest.
Yeah.
She eats on
She
air
should teach
and continue
Mayo
the
some
show.
eating technique.
We look gross when we're eating.
She uses utensils, too, on stuff like that. Mayo just
and
picks
she'll
up
keep
with his hand. Yeah.
interviewing and eating, and it's like,
Yeah.
the fuck?
Mayo eats spaghetti at Skyline Chili with his hand. Or just puts his face in the plate.
Oh my God, that's such a departure.
Imagine if the Sun Sentinel had known this before they gave him the assignment of being the esteemed food critic that he became.
Glad they didn't, because we wouldn't
Incredible,
have what we
man.
have now. He has a lot of credibility for someone who eats like a slob.
I mean, the people literally, he walks into a place, it's like the Mick showed up to give some batting tips. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 7:52. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
How many gamblers did I bail out last weekend with my game of the year? $100 better made $10,000. A $500 better made $50,000. Well, I got 6 games on Sunday that I'm releasing absolutely free. These games are a burial, a blowout, a human lock. You can bet your unborn children on these 6 games. Absolutely.
I believe.
We now return to the Defo Show.
Welcome back to our pre-Christmas edition and, of course, a happy Hanukkah edition of Degenerate Friday. And this is always great because this is probably the one show where you'll hear anything from references to Ty Detmer to Nazi hideouts for war criminals in Brazil. And we welcome to the program.
And Argentina.
Argentina,
Don't forget
professor, yeah. Now, I sense that you might have had some wagers on these World Cup events. Is that possible, Professor?
Yet I may be holding a little hostility towards the dirty, cheating, flopping people of Argentina because of them.
Oh, yeah? You had France to win it all?
I had France win it all.
Oh, my God.
Unfortunately, that goalie cost me a couple of dollars. And, of course, as we learned with Manu Ginobili, the whole theme of Argentinian sports is to flop and dive and cheat. And they once again successfully did that, because when your whole strategy is basically to beg penalty kicks from the referee, you're going to be good at penalty kicks. And so, that's what they've established at, which, again, congratulations to the world's finest penalty kick taker, Lionel Messi. on the crowning achievement of your career, which was kicking some penalty kicks. While Kylian Mbappe made real goals, you were out
Well,
there
you talk about a flop though. Don't the goalies
trying to
deliberately
draw
flop when Messi is there lined up?
Well, yeah,
He doesn't
that's
even
part
kick
of, like,
the
how
ball. He rolls it in there.
I know, yeah, that's actually my favorite. The way they now do the little run up thing. They take a step and then stop, like it's some sort of stupid dance, and he just kick. Yeah. So on top of just, a penalty kick, which again in my should not count the same as Aurelian Mbappe spent the tournament kicking real goals, and Lionel Messi spent the whole tournament taking penalty kicks that he didn't even get the penalty for. That right. This the things that freaking sport. What kind of sport can the other guy get fouled and you get to go take the penalty kick? What kind of sport
take Shaq off the free throw line
and then Kobe gets to take the free throw.
Exactly.
It's the stupidest sport I've ever heard of. That's that. I mean, come on, world. Pull
I
your
think
head
that's
out
a great
of your
rule.
ass.
I like that. Because the dumber they make the sport, the more ammunition we have for arguments against these phonies that go out there, and every 4 years, all of a sudden, they're like, and Mayo falls into this category too. Where all of a sudden he's a big soccer fan. And I ask him, has he ever bought a ticket to a soccer game here in South Florida? And I would imagine the answer to that is no. Even when the fabled Argentinians were here, and Brazil, and many of the other teams that were here in exhibition play at Hard Rock Stadium, I would imagine he was never a part of it. But
these other teams that people pretend to give a damn about their country every 4 years. That's what you mean.
People just, I get a kick out of the guys in Los Olas that are wearing the Argentinian, Messi jerseys, as if they played. And they got these big French Canadian guts that usually drape over, a thong bathing suit on the Hollywood beach. And you realize that that's impossible, right? Because there are no fat guys in soccer. Not a single fat guy.
Well, again, this goes into one of our long-running theories about sports jerseys in general, which is, number one, if you don't spend like 30 hours a week, you should never be allowed to wear a basketball jersey. Like, you guys should not be out in tank tops unless you look like a professional wrestler. If you put the time in, go ahead, wear the basketball jersey. And then if you're a big fat guy, don't wear a position number in running back. The most in football. The most annoying one now is I'm seeing these big fat slobs out there wearing Tyreek Hill jerseys. Tyreek Hill would run around you for exercise. Like, again, the great thing about football is no matter what your body type is, your team has a play. Like, if you're a big fat guy, don't wear a Tyreek Hill jersey yet. Don't wear a Tua jersey yet. Get yourself a lineman jersey. Get yourself a Teron Armstead jersey. Get yourself a Christian Wilkins jersey. There's guys who look like you playing. You should not there wearing Tyreek Hill's number. It's disgusting. And yes,
how do you feel about guys? Did you ever have a jersey with your name on it? With your own name on it, Professor? Well, would you ever wear a jersey that had Jacobson on it?
How many jerseys do you see me wearing, period? Have you ever seen me wear a jersey?
I mean, PC would be more inclined, our friend PC. Yeah, to wear like a Phillies jersey.
PC has some jerseys, but if you see me wearing a sports shirt, it's like a golf shirt with the team logo, maybe. I don't wear jerseys.
You're right. I can't ever recall you in one.
It's like wearing a baseball glove to a game. Once you're past like 12, like you just look like you're a lame, you're a herb if you're wearing
bringing the old Rawlings mid out.
There's definitely a cutoff age.
You haven't worn it in 50 years since you were playing softball on Sunday.
I will say the good thing about the Argentinian jerseys that you see, though, the Argentine, is that even if they're a big fat slob wearing a Messi jersey, they sort of look like Maradona looked the last 30 years of his life anyway. Because he definitely, the second he did soccer, went instantly
got a little
to
Roberto
big fat
Duran thing.
Dude. So they're being, within the context of their heritage.
Yeah, I mean, you see a proliferation of it, especially as you get towards the final. All of a sudden, everybody's from Argentina, and
because I was at the Foundry for it, and in the spirit of Argentina, every time they went to try to go to the bathroom, we were packed. They'd fall down on the floor and ask for free drinks because
call a personal injury attorney. Hoping to own a piece of the Foundry.
This is what Argentina sports is all about, apparently. Again, who knew when we were watching Manu Ginobili flop all over the floor for 12 years for the San Antonio
Spurs? He was a soccer
Spurs,
player.
that he was actually just representative of the cultural history, the cultural sports history of his people.
That's the best part of the World Cup, though, besides the fact that the crowd is not paying any attention to the game.
That's
Because
because
it's so boring, that even this wildly exciting 3-3 game, it was a bunch of shit for most of it.
I think you understand why if you watch this game and caught it on camera or have seen the internet since. It's because the two hottest chicks I've ever seen in my life are running around in Argentina jerseys, taking their tops off every 3 seconds to try to distract France. It's the best part of this sport. It's really the only worthwhile of this sport.
They should only show the crowd and switch to the field when a goal is scored. Otherwise, you get like 90 minutes of the crowd. And if nothing's happening on the field, which is usually the case, then the other thing was, to give France a ball arbitrarily, just by pure misfortune, glances off the arm of a guy. It's not like he attempted to grab it and then fire it at the referee or something, and that is consideration for a penalty kick. Which, is, easy money for this Mbappe who actually kicks the ball when he takes a penalty kick, as opposed to Messi who rolls it with his nose right up the middle, and the goalie is already flopped his way outside, leaving the entire net exposed.
Again,
he's not even in the confines of the the two pipes there.
Yeah, this is what makes Mbappe the actual best player in the world, as opposed to Messi, the fake best player in the world, who specializes in taking other people's penalty kicks. Again, I'm not one of these Americans.
I wish the NBA would adopt that. Wouldn't that be great?
I'm not one of these Americans who tries to tell the world how to run their stupid ass sport, because I don't pretend that I even when the World Cup's on and I'm watching it, I don't pretend I give a damn about it, and I don't pretend that I one of these Americans who could. Well, if you only did this and this, I would watch soccer. No, I'm not going to watch your dumb sport, no matter what you do to it. Including, look, you could have the two naked Argentinian chicks running around the field, full time, and I still wouldn't watch the sport.
Didn't they have a naked indoor women's soccer league at one point? They tried to launch.
Yes, they did.
Every Fugazi league they try to launch right here
on HBO.
In South Florida.
Yeah. Anyway, but if I'm going to be the American who changes the rules, make the dude who gets the penalty take the kick. Stop having the permanent. Harry Kane's England's all-time leading scorer now after this tournament. I think the guy has scored 2 real goals his entire life. All he does is kick penalty kicks. And Messi has become that guy too. So, again.
Imagine Red Auerbach could have taken Hank Finkel off the line and put Havlicek there on the stripe for a key shot.
More to the point, he could have taken bricklaying Bill Russell off the line and had Havlicek.
Mark that on the tape there. And then remember, to Leslie Visser.
If Bill Russell got credit for the points, Bill Russell would have actually been a decent offensive player. Because, he got fouled, so Havlicek gets to shoot the free throw.
Yeah,
so Kuzi gets to shoot the free throw.
Yeah, he
if
was
that
a great
were
player.
Soccer, again, that's the way it would work. Bill Russell would have been a competent NBA player under that scenario if someone else
he could
got
have a
to
substitute and think what Shaq's totals would have been, enormous on a clip.
Shaq would have had a shot at that 100 points.
Yeah. Well, Kareem could shoot free throws, so he obviously being the all-time points leader.
In case you missed the theme, Defo, we were hating on Bill Russell, not Kareem. I like Kareem.
And again, your feelings on Bill Russell are not unfounded.
One of my many
substance
things I loved about the series Showtime was that they and it got lost kind of in the Jerry West stuff. Just they randomly had Kareem hate children throughout the show.
Yes, they made Kareem seem evil.
Fantastic.
Yes. He was not quite like that. But then again, the portrayal of Pat Riley, I thought was the biggest clown transition that they could have made.
That's because
here's the distinguished, sophisticated Pat Riley.
Exactly. If you worship Pat Riley,
he looked like Bobcat Goldthwait.
You were upset that Brad Pitt didn't play Pat Riley.
Well, would it have been more appropriate than this clown with a giant nose? Get the fuck out of here.
Pseudo-romantic feeling about
when did Pat Riley look like Pinocchio on the Lakers sideline? Never.
He looked like Pinocchio when he was talking Magic Johnson, and to get it West had fired is when he looked like Pinocchio. Magic Johnson lie after lie after lie so he could get out of a radio gig he was no good at. That's when he looked like Pinocchio.
He wasn't necessary on the radio because they had the great Chick Hearn calling play-by-play, and Chick was his own color guy.
I think the point I'm trying to make again is that Pat Riley rat-fucked the Lakers' previous coach to get his first job. This something that Pat Riley-watching biographers like yourself tend to like to ignore.
I overlook a few things when it comes to Pat Riley. Yeah, I happened to be around at the time. I remember the mutiny that took place. It was ugly. I mean, and well depicted by the LA Times. Yeah, but he more than made amends with some of the distinguished things that he exhibited later on in his coaching career, i.e., faxing in the resignation to the Knicks. I thought that was classic. I did it a couple of times to Steve Lappa, and I'm very proud of that. Where I resigned.
Did you put on your best suit and slick back your hair when you did it?
As soon as the paycheck cleared, I would turn in my resignation on that one. I would just send a little text saying, "Go fuck yourself." All right, let's get into some selections here. How you faring so far? I mean, there's some trends. I was reading Mark Lawrence's Cup of Coffee. There's some trends. That are actually favorable to the favorites. And I thought the underdogs were scoring with great regularity here in the bowl season. But what's happening there? Is there a trend there?
Mark Lawrence is going for there. I mean, the trend for us, exemplified by last night when game played on Thursday and half of Baylor's defense decided to sit out on Wednesday, is that again. I don't know. And again, no insult to the great Mark Lawrence. I know he's got his trends. I know he probably doesn't let things like the opt-outs impact his opinion. But I would say, I don't know how you long-term handicap these games, precisely because, again, the Missouri Army game last year, the Air Force Baylor game last night, you bet on a team, you tune into the game, and you find out your starting quarterback, your starting running back, and 4 defensive players and 3 linemen aren't going to play. So I think if you're looking at, something, it's just pay attention to the opt-out. Several websites have an opt-out tracker. Again, if you had bet Baylor and then you turn in that without knowing, you turn out the game and found out half your starting defense was sitting out.
They were the Washington Generals.
You'd have probably plotzed right before there. So, I mean, including
that was when I could have texted you it's over after the initial drive. When Air Force held the ball for
I had Air Force, you probably would have done that. If
I unfortunately was.
I'll tell you anything.
I was handed Baylor by Francesco, my personal bookmaking.
There's another sign you should have known to go the other way. You probably should have known half of Baylor's team was sitting out on that pick.
Well, he's been dead wrong for a couple of weeks now. I mean, going so far south that he's starting beg for forgiveness and things like that. And and it's always bad when a degenerate starts. Turns the whining into just flat out begging for a break. But he did hit that game, and Air Force had been pretty good this year, right? I mean,
Air Force won the game straight up, and they were getting points. What do you mean he hit that game?
No, he had Air Force. I had.
Oh,
Baylor.
I thought you said he had Baylor.
No, I had Baylor.
I was assigned Baylor.
Now I got it. Yeah, well.
And again, I knew I was done right from the start. I mean, same thing in that Jet game last night. I knew I was finished right from the very beginning.
Well, again, you're playing an option team, and your 360-pound nose tackle, who's going to be like a late first, early second round draft pick, is sitting out. That's probably not a great sign, right from the start of the thing. And then, as I'm watching the game, I think to myself, it's like, okay, I sort of get it. You're a 360-pound dude. You're going to the NFL. Are you going to sign up for 90 minutes to get cut block by a bunch of offensive linemen who have to fit in a fighter plane, so they're only like 260 pounds? Be like me getting blocked by Lubie diving at my knees for 60 minutes.
Or Lubie's really exhibit of his athletic prowess when Charlie Partridge had him up there going through drills at FAU. That time.
But it's not like I'm Aaron Donald myself, so I'm not.
It was like an Outland Trophy candidate, ran right over him on the coach's instructions, and then Charlie realized he had probably taken the joke a little bit too far.
By Charlie Partridge, honestly.
He thought more of Lubie than we did. That's for sure.
Kind of happy to see what happened to him at FAU after that.
Hey, he's doing great. I don't think he meant any harm. The kid just couldn't follow instructions, right? It's like the fighter, you tell him to go out there and throw the jab, and the first thing he does is launch an uppercut, and the next thing you know, he's coming back on a stretcher.
Just saying, I remember that video. I did not approve of that incident.
No, I didn't either. But I
Just
orchestrated
showing
it,
off
so I
against Lubie.
kind
Look,
of
if
had to
you
go
were any
along
good,
with it.
you would be at FAU in the first place. The hell are you trying to show off there
Well, it
for?
just
Don't
shows you
protect
that
your
even
guy.
at the lowest levels of college football, a guy like Lubie does not belong on the field.
No,
All right.
obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well,
Even
yeah,
at the
Well,
beginning, that fucked me up.
Didn't we
Yeah.
learn that from Rudy, who after getting beaten the hell out, the only way he did anything was to be 5 yards off sides? Like, I mean,
Well, and we had Lubie when it was Lubie versus the world, also getting attacked by that animal, a skinhead MMA
Jeff
guy that was
Monson. Jeff
actually in
Monson.
the
you know that guy's
yeah,
moved to
Jeff
Russia, and
Monson.
he's like a Russian congressman now.
This guy was like Gorilla Monsoon. Are you kidding me? And
Yeah, he's like
we weren't able to communicate to him that this was just stuff to be feigned.
no, he did a full on Steven Seagal. He moved to
Monson?
Russia. He moved to Russia.
No,
He
shut up. Are you serious?
gave up his American citizenship.
Oh,
He's
yeah?
like, and he ran for like the Russian equivalent of Congress. Yeah, he's like a full on traitor at this point. He's got
Well,
his head totally
he could
buried up
be. I mean,
Putin's ass.
his mind was never the same after Lubie, refused to tap out while he had him in a rear naked choke.
I
And
thought
Jerry
Louis
Hester,
praised,
the assistant program director, had to come in and say, "What the fuck is going on here?"
I thought Lubie had praised capitalism or something and had pointed out that communism had killed 50 million people. in the
I think he
20th
said
century.
he whispered in his ear as he was getting choked out that Putin is a jerk off.
There you
That
go.
didn't sit well with Monson. Now he was some he was on a couple of those shows we did at the Ocean Manor. I don't know if you were part of those. I would imagine so.
I think I was
And,
behind the scenes on that. I don't think I ever met the guy.
oh yeah,
But
you were
yes,
back
I
at
do
the station.
remember
That's
on
right. That's right.
the video of Lubie getting taken down.
That's
by,
classic, man.
Oh
That
my
should
God, he
run.
really did become a Russian wartime propagandist.
I told you
Jeff
this.
Monson, are you kidding me? What the
The
fuck?
guy's like the Nikita Koloff of MMA.
Yeah,
Like,
to
if he
screw
ever
loose.
fights again, it's gonna be like, "Shut up, all you stupid Americans!" while I sing the Russian national anthem.
Oh
You'll
my
be the
God.
guy
What
with
the
the finger
fuck?
on the red button, man.
Putin
when
was
they finally
actually
pull the trigger.
featuring him in their propaganda videos.
Nice.
I told you he did
Jeff
like a
Monson.
full-on Steven. He's probably randomly in Steven Seagal's latest crappy Russian-produced movie.
He is Russian. He's part Russian,
Yeah.
actually.
He came a long way from wrestling Lubie on the floor of the
That's
WIOD
crazy.
or 940 Wins Talk Studios.
Lubie gave him the CTE, full-on broke his brain to the point where he gave
That
up
could be a big board.
capitalism.
That's a future big board, I think. All right, let's get to some picks. We
Lubie's
got to
ruined
hustle here a
his
little bit
career.
and a big board. What do you have for us, Professor?
Well, first of all, we do have a game today that we like, and that's Wake Forest -2.5 against Missouri. Missouri's got a bunch of sit-outs in this game. Wake Forest, they have a few guys in the transfer portal, including their second leading rusher, but Hartman's playing, and I think that offense, the first time you see it's going to be tough for Missouri to stop. So I would definitely lean a little bit that way. The other game, Louisiana and Houston. Houston laying 7, and you have said dogs have been live, but I would say Houston's probably worth at least a look here because Louisiana's quarterback got hurt in late November, as did their best wide receiver. I think they're going to have problems scoring today. So I would trend strong towards Wake Forest and look maybe to Houston, but that's kind of iffy. Unfortunately, we're not looking beyond that, although, of course, we do have the Hawaii Bowl on Saturday. And Lubie, explain to me, you guys picked this one right out of the gates.
Yes,
San
Middle
Diego
Tennessee State is going
versus
down.
Middle Tennessee State.
MSU.
On our theory of who's
MSU.
going to enjoy the game more,
Right.
you would certainly think the boys from Middle Tennessee State are partying a little harder in Hawaii than the boys
Right.
from San Diego State.
I mean,
You
think
would
about the
suspect
circumstances.
that, stuffing your face with pork and poi at the luau, that's going to be more the Middle Tennessee State guys than the
No
San
doubt
Diego
about it.
State guys who are used to the good weather and used to doing an annual road trip to
And you're
Hawaii.
getting 7.
Right.
And you're getting
Yeah,
7.
They
You
go
get
back
it.
and
Well,
forth
you're
there
giving
like they were
7.
going from Long
Yeah.
Island into the city, to party, back and
Oh,
forth
San
to
Diego
Maui.
State's favorite, whatever. Even if, oh yeah,
I would lay any
And
number
I
of
think I
points.
just lost sound on you
yeah.
guys.
we're here. Can
Yeah.
you hear us? Hello?
Lay any number of points with this. All right. Professor's selections. That's it. A couple of bowl games from the professor here. And of course, next week we'll get into the semifinal games. I don't know if you have a solid opinion already on that, but I would imagine so, because most people are seeing a Georgia-Michigan final, and we've discussed or dabbled in whether TCU had an upset shot. Tony Segreto thought they did. I guess because of the quarterback, whether it's Duggan. and
Second,
that
yeah.
they were in there with a fighting chance to knock off Michigan. But we'll see. We'll get into that next week. The big board,
I would
Professor.
say just on
Yeah.
that one, the way TCU looked against the run against Kansas State, they're going to have a very difficult time with Michigan as an even more physical
I'm with
football
you.
team.
I like Michigan.
Yeah, we'll talk about those more next week. But no, I don't think either underdog has necessarily a great chance. Of course, we're a week out, so we'll see.
Yeah. All right.
Let's get to the big
What do you got
board.
for us this week? We got to get to the big board.
You know what I got for you, Defo? I got a lot of problems with you people, and today you're going to hear about it because
Oh, nice. Festivus.
it's Festivus, people.
Nice.
So today we're celebrating with the big board of Festivus.
Beautiful. All right. This is your opportunity to complain about anything and everything.
It's not just complaining. There's other things going on, including the Festivus Miracle, which we got this weekend, and we will discuss. But let's start with number 5. Lionel Messi shows Salt Bay the Festivus poll. For those of you who don't know who the hell Salt Bay is this restaurateur who runs Nat El Sur all throughout several locations in the world, including Miami, where celebrities regularly go up and runs up bills in the tens of thousands of dollars. And then he screws regular people who go in and try to order a steak, and he charges them hundreds and hundreds of dollars. He's the guy who really popularized this stupid thing with eating gold foil on top of your food, which I don't know why the hell, if you're paying $100 for a steak, you're going to want to drop some gold on it. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. It's basically, he owns a bunch of restaurants that people go to take pictures of themselves on Instagram and act like dickheads. And, of course, they're led by Salt Bay, who himself is a gigantic dickhead who got famous for this little weird thing where he cocks up his arm and drops salt on your steak after it bounces off his elbow. He kind of looks like a filthy person anyway. I don't know why you'd want your food possibly touching this person. And Messi made it very clear that Messi didn't want anything to do with Salt Bay either. Perhaps because most famously, one of the celebrities who made Salt Bay famous was big fat cocaine addict Diego Maradona, who apparently loved to go to Salt Bay's place in his later years. So Messi, when he saw Salt Bay, was like, "Get away from me, you Maradona-loving piece of garbage. I just won my World Cup. I don't need you." And gave him the Heisman, gave him the hard stiff arm as Salt Bay, after the game, tried to come and party with Messi. So congratulations, Messi, on showing Salt Bay things you did very well, along with kicking penalty kicks, because you're not good at actual soccer, but you are good at the penalty kicks, even though you can't hold a candle to Mbappe at the real parts of the sport.
And I sense a little extrapolation there on an earlier theme about the Argentinians being a bunch of frauds when it came to the game. That's number 5 on the big board of Festivus here today. Interesting approach.
And that takes us to number 4, because, Defo, around the holiday season, you need to raise some cash, whether you're celebrating Christmas or Hanukkah or Festivus or excuse me, or maybe Kwanzaa. I don't know if you have to spend any money for Kwanzaa.
Sure.
I don't know if you have to. Anyway, but number 4, this may be my favorite story of all time, and I hope you guys have heard of this, introducing it to the channel. But for those of you who haven't, let me introduce you to Chiefsaholic. Chiefsaholic is the Chiefs super fan who was arrested this week because he's been financing all his road trips to go to Chiefs games by robbing banks in the cities he goes to.
Nice.
And after getting a tip,
is that one of Andy Reid's kids? It turned out to be one of Andy Reid's kids.
Jesus.
They're all doing time.
Because this guy was paying for Chiefs tickets, not cocaine.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the
FBI
got a tip that this may be your bank robber they've been looking for almost 6 years now. They found that when you went to the videotape, Chiefs will have the same mask to rob banks that he wears when he goes to Kansas City Chiefs games.
No.
So it wasn't between that and the fact that he was robbing banks in cities that had a road trip everywhere. It wasn't like this guy was particularly a criminal genius. Like, apparently robbing banks is much easier than I thought it was. I mean, can you imagine if Dolphin Denny had been robbing banks for 20 years in order to dress up and buy Dolphins tickets? I don't remember what the black cowboy guy who's been at every Cowboys game for 50 years and showed up to rob banks in a cowboy hat with his toy pistols like he shows up at Cowboys, or the Vikings guy. Like, apparently.
Fireman Ed. Yeah.
Big
you could
Papa
actually
Pump.
get away. I actually do kind of suspect that Fireman Ed's
Fireman Ed.
He's probably robbed a couple
It
of
wouldn't
places.
shock
Yeah.
me.
I think jewelry stores is his
Fireman Ed
specialty.
definitely seems like he would be knocking off 7-Elevens on road trips or something.
Could be a
along
second
those
story,
lines.
man. Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it. Well, that's classic, man. I mean, guy was financing it, and I immediately thought of Dolph Anthony in that same capacity.
I don't know about
Because
robbing
this
banks, but I
guy's
could
intellect
definitely-
makes
I could de-
Dolph Anthony looks Mensa compared to this guy. Are you kidding me?
Again, I don't know about robbing banks, but I could definitely see like Dolph Anthony selling 8 balls at the local Flanagan's to pay for his Dolph.
He had that Carl Malden bulbous nose, like he had been on an all-night bender since birth. Dolph Anthony was a decent guy. I did have my brushes with Dolph Anthony and had a free car trade-out from my good friend Jim Dunn at Toyota of Hollywood, which I found exceptional because they didn't even really want to let Dolph Anthony on the field for most of those Dolphin games.
But this is why Chiefsaholic is taking it to a new level. Imagine if Dolph Anthony had gone and stolen his free car from Toyota of Hollywood,
Well,
and then plastered
been a
Dolph
surprise.
Anthony shit all over it. It would have been a much better story. I would have found Dolph Anthony actually interesting if that was Dolph Anthony's backstory.
All right, that's number 4. Good one, and kind of an offbeat story there that we weren't aware of. That's number 4 on the big board of Festivus.
And that takes us to number 3, which is Tom Izzo, who's a guy I don't totally approve of, was definitely in the Festivus spirit this week, as not only did he bust out the Buddy the Elf sweater for Michigan State's game against Oakland, he then got 2 technical fouls throughout the course of the game for screaming
that
at
was
the
funny.
referees while wearing the Buddy the Elf sweater. And that, my friends, is the Festivus spirit right there, is that when you are not afraid to tell the referees, go fuck yourself while wearing that particular sweater. That is a man who knows how to. I don't approve of Tom Izzo totally. I think he's one of those Bobby Knight kind of jerk off coaches whose days, thankfully, are done.
I thought Lubie liked him because we were hanging around a bus that we thought was going to take us like a shuttle to the arena for the Final Four. And it turned out it was the coach's bus, and Izzo actually thought we were assistants with Syracuse, as did later on Roy Brown. Roy Williams.
No, we're just standing there, and he's like,
"That would be just very random if they picked you out as a Syracuse guy."
Imagine they thought Lubie was an assistant coach, like he was Monty Tao or something.
So weird.
Yeah,
that is
NC State.
That is very weird. I don't even know Monty Tao, like Jeff Lebo, maybe a short Jeff Lebo, maybe.
I mean, when we went masquerading him as Pat Day to get on the backstretch of the Kentucky Derby on the Friday before the
I'm not going to lie. Lubie does have that, like the coach's kid who can't play a lick but shoots 90% free throws at the end of games. He's
could have been one of the Boeheims. Yeah, it could have been an offspring of Jimmy.
No, all the Boeheims are like 6'6". Like
that's
there's
true.
no way he's passing as a Boeheim. And plus, the mom is phenomenally good looking. So.
Yeah, no, that was an interesting story when that first transpired there.
But anyway, Tom Izzo, you are
student.
definitely in the Festivus spirit.
Yeah,
I can praise anybody who's willing to wear that sweater and still go off on people. Like that.
How do you go outside the house? I mean, really?
How do you wear that sweater and yell?
Again,
it's like a bad hairpiece. How
I'm
do you
not
do
a lover
that?
of Tom Izzo, but anybody who's willing to do this scores points in my book.
Beautiful, man. All right, that's number 3 on the big board of Festivus. Outstanding so far, Professor. Let's move to number 2.
And our top 2 both deal, Defo, with the Festivus Miracle. And, of course, we got the Festivus Miracle. Everybody's seen it. The New England Patriots make the stupidest play in the history of the sport of football, which in and of itself was the Festivus Miracle. But within that, we got 2 Festivus traditions on top of the Festivus Miracle. And the first of all is the Raider Chandler Jones, with the feats of strength, who after catching the errant lateral says, "Sit down, you fat bitch, Mac Jones."
Yeah.
And just
Lubie loves this play.
completely tosses him to the ground like a rag doll and then steps on his face as he's getting ready to run for the winning touchdown.
Right.
Get the fuck out of here, you ass.
Get
Most
out of
defenders
my
would have
way.
fallen down, tripping over him.
Get out of my way, you coke-addled DUI, chubby, worthless waste of any draft pick, much like a first-round draft pick. I will show you, Mac Jones, the feats of strength, and thus the symbolic end to Festivus.
Yeah, that was something there. I mean, You can't play that particular play enough for Dolphin fans.
I love that play.
To see Bill Belichick's team losing on a clown play.
Yes.
Again,
That
very possibly
is
the stupidest
probably
play in the history
of
football.
historic dimensions, no?
And I think it needs to be pointed out because everybody's blaming the players.
Yeah.
It's 3 seconds left and you're running the ball up the middle. Why the hell are you running the ball? Just kneel. Why?
Yeah.
Again, part of this is the coach's fault. And I know Patriots fans refuse to blame Bill Belichick anything, so they'll blame Matt Patricia for it. And that's fine because we're not fans of Matt Patricia either. But some of that falls squarely on the shoulders of the coaches, not just the players. And the majority of the players, I say, falls on the rounded, bulbous shoulders of Mac Jones, who cannot make a tackle or even get into Chandler Jones' legs because Chandler Jones is just far too much man for Mac Jones. And
that was great, man. Jones had to be in his defense a little bit stunned that he was now facing the ball carrier that was going the other way.
Again, the picture
when he was 20 yards away from the play, that was
the picture demonstrates it. Chandler Jones is so much more masculine than Mac Jones that even when it's unnecessary, because Mac Jones is flailing around the ground like the I've fallen and I can't get up woman. Chandler Jones still stiff arms his head into the
he smushed him. All right, that's number 2. We have to get to number 1, the big board of Festivus, the professor, ladies and gentlemen.
A lot of talk about on the internet the last few days, and a lot of people taking completely the wrong side of this issue, and that is part of the Festivus miracle, the airing of the grievances. This is this woman who is a Raiders fan who completely accosted a Patriots fan at the end of the game. Has now become a huge thing on Twitter. People praising this Patriots fan for not attacking this woman physically because this woman got up in his face and yelled after the Festivus miracle and the Patriots losing. Let me explain something to everybody out there who's very wrong about this instead, calling this woman a racist for screaming at a black man. Number 1, this is entirely how every visiting NFL fan gets treated on the road. Number 2, if you're wearing a Patriots jersey, particularly a Tom Brady jersey, this is how you deserve to be treated, not just on the road, but everywhere you go. And number 3, this woman is a hero. Imagine if everybody started treating Patriots fans and all Boston people in general the way this woman treated this man, how much better society would be. If people just randomly went up and got in Ben Affleck's face after the premiere of every shit bomb he makes. If everybody got up and screamed at Mark Wahlberg every time he spoke in public, how much better a place would the world be? So absolutely, this woman, absolutely a hero, and in the spirit of Festivus, airing of the grievances, Steve.
That was beautiful. Absolutely fantastic. Appropriate before the holidays here on this Festivus day. Professor, best of luck with the selections, of course, and your continued success picking bowl games. And have a happy holiday. Any news? The Foundry open Christmas Day, Eve. What's happening there?
Eve, yes, I'll have to check on Christmas Day, but yes, I believe we are.
Okay, very good. I would imagine you can get yourself all of the traditional Christmas type stuff there with some kind of special. Our special tonight is the Christmas dinner. Very good, Professor.
On that. All right, you have a good one, Dave.
All right, thanks a lot, Professor, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's go right to the source here. Now, I don't want to associate him with Stu Feiner, who was known as the source during those years. Well, we were always mistaken. We thought Stu Feiner was on the Proline show with Jim Feist and company. And he wasn't. He actually followed that show with his own show called The Source. Yes. And that's where we first encountered Stu. And we thought it was a joke when one of the original cast members of the Proline show was here in South Florida. And he came by and he happened to be a fan of what we were doing. And he told us he could get Stu Feiner on the show for us, which I'd always been making references to this guy because he always looked like he had just slept in the trunk of the car before he came on a set. And, he would make the usual bold proclamations that he hadn't lost a game in 2 centuries. And so we thought it would be a joke, but he turned out to be a very engaging character, even though I don't know if he can pick games so well, Stu Feiner. He's one of those guys that still claims to be like 11-0 all the time. But anyway, this is great because we get to go straight to a guy who really, when he researches something, man, there's a lot of substance behind it. And that's
Yes.
Mark Lawrence, World Championship handicapper. And we wish him a happy holidays and welcome him to the show. Mark, how are you? Playbooksports.com. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing just terrific, Defo. Merry Christmas to you and Lubie and the
Good
audience
morning,
out
sir.
there. And I hope Santa's good to everybody this holiday season.
Yes.
All right. Did you have that? What was it? Eastern Illinois? Did you have that big basketball upset? But did you perhaps have a small taste on the money line? Because it was the biggest outright winner in terms of spread coverage and winning the game outright. 31.5 in 30 years as they beat what? Iowa earlier this week. I always love when something in gambling, something in degeneracy historic happens. But were you inclined at all to look at that game?
Not in the least. Okay. Not in the least.
I mean, that's a hefty spread. And they only play 40 minutes. You're going to lose by 31.5 before you're even in the ballpark. That was really something. All right. Anything that you're seeing, any trends of any interest in the ball games? I know you had something on a cup of coffee. I probably misinterpreted it in the translation to the professor, but it was something about favorites in the bowl games. You just put that out this morning. What was that? Because I know you had spotted some kind of a trend there.
Yeah, what we've seen so far is while the dogs and the favorites have kind of balanced out a little bit so far, there's always room for a dog, okay? And the thing we notice is that the underdogs that are playing in these bowl games that are coming off wins are now 6-0 to the spread. They were 5-0 going into the Air Force game last night. Yeah, so, that basically the dog who's playing with some momentum bowl game, feeling good about themselves, taking points, 6 for 6 so far in the bowl game. So that's sort of a look you want to look at, I guess, when it comes to moving forward with these bowl games. Won't live 6-0 out, but it's still a real nice side to be on in these bowl games.
You're probably, in all likelihood, already a winner because you're wondering how many more of these circumstances will pop up. Although there still are another, 72 bowl games to go before we get to the wire here. Have you been involved? And I apologize because I completely reversed and misinterpreted, the position that you had when I was talking to the professor about it. And I had you saying that favorites were winning. So, the direct opposite, Mark. And I was used to fudging the quotes when I was a reporter for newspapers, but this was a bad misinterpretation.
Well, not really in that so much, in that favorites and dogs have been kind of like split down the middle so far.
Yeah, so
but
it seems.
Like I was saying, right. So, but there's the good case to be made for the dog is that guy that comes in off the win. So, no misinterpretation. It's exactly what we're honing in on here are these live dogs in these college bowl games.
One thing I love about guys like yourself who are professional handicappers, the good ones, is that, the game can't be, meaningless enough or the team's more unknown, and you'll still have an angle on some of these games. And that's an important criteria with some of these bowl games because, but the other thing that's in play that's almost of a sinister nature when it comes to degeneracy are these late opt-outs. Where I don't know. I mean, for to protect FanDuel bettors and people that are sending it in right and left, like a lot of our degenerate audiences, should there not be an institution of like an injury report type of rule, and you have to report opt-outs like 2 weeks before the game, or else the guy is forced to play? I don't know how you administrate that, but I mean. Look at this game last night the professor was talking about. I mean, Baylor, all of a sudden, they have nobody playing the game at the last minute.
Yep, exactly. Exactly right. And, it makes it really difficult navigating these bowl waters, as you mentioned here, because you don't know which players, even up until game day, are going to be playing. Some are still going to be entering the portal but playing in the bowl games.
Yes,
some have already entered the portal but are out. Some are injured. Some just flat out don't want to play because they want to save an injury. They want to protect themselves for the National Football League draft. So,
which I don't blame a guy, man. I mean, I go back to any number of incidents, including Melvin Bratton, who's playing in a bowl game and is about to be probably a second, first round pick, maybe. I don't know. And his career was never the same after that. Playing in a meaningless game that meant a lot to the school, maybe. All right. How you been hitting them? I guess you're doing well since you spotted this 6-0 trend, Mark Lawrence.
Well, we're doing okay. We've only released officially 3 bowl games. We've cashed in 2 of those 3. Air Force one of them last night.
Nice.
We take it a little bit slow early out of the gate. And I think the thing that really stands out of the gate is the fact that what you're looking for are these teams that are thrilled to be in the bowl games, that are dressing up as underdogs against these favorite opponents that really fell into this lower tier bowl type game. That's what really kind of tends to work the best. And you could say Baylor last night fell into a lower tier bowl, especially given the fact that last year they won the Big 12 championship and played in a big major bowl game. So, they kind of fit that bill. They checked all those boxes last night.
Well, they sure did. They checked out early in that game. I mean, Air Force opens up with like a 19-play, 12-minute drive for a touchdown, and they mowed through them like Swiss cheese. The coach goes for 4th down no matter what the circumstances, even 4th and 9 from his own 1-yard line. And, they just dominated the ball game. So that turned out to be a pretty easy one. All right, let's get into it. There's a nice pro slate. A lot of games still have significance in terms of playoff implications. And there are a lot of incentive to play. We got some backup quarterbacks to consider and bad weather. So what do you have for us this week, Mark Lawrence of PlaybookSports.com?
Well, we'll take a look at a couple of bowl games between now and next week when we visit next, and fade a couple of favorites here that meet that criteria, that fell into these lower tiered bowls that had visions on bigger, better bowl games. The first is going to be we're going to play North Carolina plus the points against Oregon in the Holiday Bowl. Obviously, Oregon had sights for a much, much bigger bowl game, winning the Pac-12 for openers. North Carolina has been a gutty, gritty dog this year. They've been a terrible, but a really good dog for backers of them. When you look at the tendency inside this Holiday Bowl, where teams in the past have gone to the Holiday Bowl, and it's kind of been go out there and let's have fun, fun in the sun on the West Coast and do all that stuff. Well, the last 8 Holiday Bowl games, the favorite is just 1-7 against the spread, which kind of lends to the theory or the thought that maybe the focus fully isn't there. So we're going to play North Carolina plus a boatload of points against Oregon. And one other quick note here, the Oregon quarterback is going to play in the game there in May. He was said to be entering the transfer portal and going out, but he is going to play for North Carolina. And I don't think that's caught up yet with the odds maker. I think you're going to see a big move coming back to North Carolina once word of that has been confirmed.
That guy May is good, man. Good-looking kid, too. I would imagine he's having no trouble, getting prom dates there on the campus of North Carolina, and he's an exciting player. All right, that's number 1. North Carolina getting a boatload of points against Oregon in the Holiday Bowl.
Yes, that's Wednesday in the Holiday Bowl. And then on Thursday, we're going to fade Minnesota in the Pinstripe Bowl. And again, a case of 2 football teams that opened up the season really well. Minnesota started 4-0 to begin the year. Syracuse started 6-0 to begin the year. Minnesota had their visions on winning that Big Ten West Conference because their defense was rock solid, ranked number 1 for quite a while throughout the season, yet finished here in the Pinstripe Bowl. Syracuse is just elated here, especially number 1, they saved Dino Babers' job.
Mm-hmm.
He was on the hottest of all hot seats at the beginning of this football season.
Yeah.
So they arrived to the Pinstripe Bowl. He's a live dog. And again, let's use the bowl analogy. The Pinstripe Bowl hasn't been around a long time, but the little bit that it's been there, favorites are just 3-7 against the spread the last 10 games inside the Pinstripe Bowl. So again, we're going to take the dog with Syracuse against a disappointed favorite in Minnesota. We'll take Syracuse plus the points.
All right, and our own bowl opinion, I don't know if you looked into this game, the Hawaii Bowl. We're always trying to determine which team is going to look like the pledges at Animal House and not show up to play the game. But we figured Middle Tennessee State is ill-equipped to handle the change of environments there without going nuts. And that so San Diego State, being more accustomed to this kind of thing, probably will run away and hide in that ballgame. I think we're laying points there, though, Mark, which would probably raise your blood pressure quite a bit if you were inclined to make a wager on that game. All right, let's get into the pros. We have two good picks, two solid picks here in the ball games. And professionally, what are you looking at, Mark Lawrence, playbooksports.com?
We're going to look at two dogs in the NFL that are clinging to playoff berths right now, and we're going to take points against opponents that just clinched playoff berths. So we got the hungry dog against the fat favorite, and we'll see if we can take advantage of that this weekend. First is going to be the New York Giants, currently the number 7 seed in the NFC playoffs, coming into this football game here. 3.5-point dog. They've been a great play as under Brian Daboll this season here so far. 9 times they've been the dog. 7 times they've cashed the ticket and won the money. In Minnesota, you've got a football team that is unbelievably an 11-win team that has the worst defense in the National Football League. And just remember this, Defo, when they get to the playoffs, if something happens between now and then, well, they're going to be in the playoffs, but if they end up being favored, Minnesota, no team has ever won a playoff game in the National Football League playoffs that owned the worst defense in the league.
Right.
That's the Minnesota Vikings.
Wow.
And they're in that role here against week. They've been outgained in 5 of the last 6 games. New York Giants 7-1 to the spread the last 8 games on Saturdays. The little odd Saturday kickoff day here. I like the Giants plus the 3.5 to stay alive in the playoff race.
You are among many other people that dabble in this sort of thing that seem to like the Giants early on, and the incentive is certainly there, especially coming off that big, somewhat fugazi victory over the Washington Commanders last week. All right, that's the G-Men, and who else are we going with in the professional ranks?
We'll stick in the NFC East, and we'll play the Commanders Washington plus 7 against San Francisco.
Wow.
Commanders just clinched their playoff berth, and Washington comes into this football game off of that disappointing loss to the Giants, in which they outgained the Giants by 99 yards in the football game, yet lost the contest. Frisco at home against teams that come off a straight-up favorite loss, as Washington does. They're just 5-17 to the spread. This is just a spot where San Francisco can win this game. They don't have to keep their foot on the pedal throughout the whole game, and you're going to get Washington's best effort in this game as well. So we'll play Washington plus the 7 for the other live hungry dog on the NFL card this weekend.
Ron Rivera, man, showed great restraint and not physically attacking the officials in that ball game.
That last play was ridiculous.
And what's weird is we're all assuming they would have made the 2-point conversion to tie it up. They still could have easily lost anyway, but nonetheless, they were worthy and deserving of the chance. All right, excellent. Mark Lawrence, any big plans for the holiday weekend coming up? Christmas, Hanukkah, anything shaking?
No, just taking it nice and easy, Defo. Going to go to the Capitol Grill and get ourselves a nice little steak and lobster.
Nice.
And then, bring everything in that way and sit back, chill, and relax, and enjoy some of these NFL and college bowl games.
Well, Merry Christmas.
Don't be afraid to salute the picture with the article he wrote about the Capitol Grill. I'm assuming you're going to which one now? Aventura?
In Lauderdale on Sunrise.
Oh, yeah, that's the one I meant.
That's the one.
That's the Aventura Mall, isn't it? Or no, that's the Galleria Mall.
Galleria Mall.
I get my malls mixed up.
He did his thing, and they have.
Yeah, they have a picture of Mayo with his article there, and if you indicate that you even have any kind of association with this guy, the best top-notch of service. Not to knock the service there; it's always impeccable, but. You won't have to worry about,
I don't know. Yeah. It may give you a sneer.
People fear this man. It's unreal, Mark. All right. Happy holidays to you. Playbooksports.com. That's where you can get all this good stuff, including my butchering of the trend that you laid out, which shows you what an imbecile I am, because I would have gone ahead and said, oh, yeah, well, Mark Lawrence found this trend that, is indicative of favorites, which is totally against his philosophical position.
He would never do.
What was I thinking, Mark? I'm really losing it, man. This broken toe has me all messed up. Have the happiest of holidays, Mark Lawrence, and playbooksports.com. Where can people get more of your stuff? Because the research is impeccable.
Simply online at playbooksports.com. You can lay your hands on that college bowl guide. It's just absolutely awesome. It's 30 pages jam-packed with all sorts of winning bowl information and the weekly football newsletter. Check it out all online at playbooksports.com.
All right, Mark, happy holidays, and we'll talk to you.
All right, Mark. Yeah, happy holidays, and we'll catch up with you next week. Mark Lawrence, playbooksports.com. Really does an outstanding job. I mean, and these breakdowns, it's not like he's pushing, hey, buy my best bet of the day. Really gives you all of the analysis, and lets you make up your own mind about certain things while giving you the kind of, data that he developed very early on, was onto this thing. I worked for a Fugazi company that was really just engaged in stock fraud for a period of time. I had nothing to do with any of the illegalities, but we were a little desperate, so we took the job, and it worked out okay for a little while, but it was always suspect. They started playing Sweet Georgia Brown when we came to the bank with the checks. The entire company, on a rare occasion when we got paid, would all go to the bank at the same time, man. And the first few guys there got some money, and the rest of us.
Globetrotters.
These things were bouncing like you were Marcus Haynes, man. But the guy actually had a concept. This is the weird thing about criminals sometimes, is that the guy actually had a concept that was way ahead of its time, because he figured the world was eventually going to turn to gambling. This is, circa in, maybe the late 80s. And he was developing a database of all gambling information, like every piece of minutia, which, Mark Lawrence obviously has perfected that with his Playbook Sports database that he has. All right, Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, going to join us. And, of course, we're looking forward to being out at Gulfstream Park with Mike Mayo. You want to just pop him in here or play a couple of things?
Yes, we can. I wanted to do it, but we can just pop him in.
All right, yeah, let's...
he's there.
Oh, he's eating already, right? That's
already
disgusting.
eating.
So let's fire up a break here, and we'll come back with Mike Mayo.
Face.
Oh my God!
Cream cheese, lox.
Probably like a filter fish, on a waffle. With this guy.
Oh, it's a grandpa's
with
bagel
lox.
with lox. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing with the capers. Look, it's all very
so
Christmassy.
Disgusting. Not
Red
a
and
bagel,
green.
but you.
It looks fine. He just eats it gross.
This was the food critic for the Sun Sentinel. We're just saying his picture and his glossy embossed article is sitting in front of the place before you even get to the maitre d'.
My favorite is
DeForest 7:30, and they go, "Do you know Mike Mayo?"
You'll say, "Oh my God, Mayo critiqued it," and they look at it and they're like, "Yes, he did. He did."
We were so nervous when that day's edition of the paper came out. We were waiting by the printing press there, right, for them to fire off the first 100 copies. They were in a bundle when they bought them, like in the bundle still.
It's astounding to me. I was dealing with a publicist now that we're working with the Fort Lauderdale, the Greater Visit Lauderdale Food and Wine Festival. This publicist who reps a bunch of restaurants, and she said, "We really did fear you. We just everybody."
It's crazy, man. You.
All
right.
Well,
We'll bring back. We'll try and clean up Mayo and come back with a little preview of what you're going to get today at Gulfstream Park in a moment. Now that it's 8:49.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, "Where should we go and eat tonight?"
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
All right, so you have the poem. Let's do it.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I got DQ'd from the late double. Sorry, no champagne or caviar for you.
Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, ladies and gentlemen.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
All right, I would imagine he has a long list of complaints, but I'm assuming he's saving that later on for the Mike Mayo Lunchbox Show. And what better place to whine and complain and air relevant grievances, but at a racetrack, which will be at later on today.
I intend to
Andy,
show you all my losing tickets and say,
Andy
"Did you
is
see
weighed
how
in.
close I came?"
Says
know you
your
love that.
Festivus grievances would include 3% hidden service charges, $5 seltzers, losing the third grade spelling bee to Daniel Meltzer.
How did he know? That's absolutely accurate. PS 236.
Meltzer beat you out, that moron? Are you kidding me?
And he was able to get sassafras, and now
Sassafras. How many S's in sassafras, man?
too many. More than
I start with
less
2
than
right there at the front.
Yeah.
How are you,
no,
Mike Mayo? You all right? I missed you yesterday. I'm sorry about that, but it did me
No,
some
it's
good
great.
to rest the toe
I
there.
worked out fine.
And you had
We
Nicky
wanted you to be
Mohan and
rested.
the
The
owner
voice,
and everything. Yeah.
I'd say the voice is now back about
Voice is back,
90%.
Yeah, it's pretty solid right now.
I want you off that foot every other day. You did way too much walking on Wednesday, but
I
that's
was
good.
everywhere Wednesday.
And we had Neki. When we have Neki on the show, everything is just beautiful because
It's a whole different show. Yeah.
Total pro. And we had a good time out there at the Barry's Grill for Buenos Aires, the Argentine restaurant on Las Olas. Classy joint. And it's
Did you wear your
happy
messy
place.
jersey? Did you wear a messy jersey out there?
I can't squeeze in. I can't even squeeze into my Fat Man Maradona jersey anymore. But oh yeah, I'm taking.
You are Maradona.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. This holiday season, I got on the scale today. It is getting out of whack. But January 1st, right around the corner, we'll have some resolutions that will
don't wait
fall by
until
the
the first. It never happens then.
Well, it's
you have to get
meanwhile, Ken sounded like a bitter old man with his. Well, first of all, who bets on France unless the sport is surrendering? That's
wine competition. Maybe you might bet on France, the Pouilly Foussé, over some American Chardonnay. What do you think?
Yeah, that's true. But when it comes to, well, you know what? They are pretty good. But he has to, you got to root for the better story. And in World Cup soccer, you got to root for the better floppers. So that's it.
No doubt. No, he had that pegged. I mean, that was a stroke of brilliance there.
He did raise a great point, and I never thought of that. Is like, why is it not that the guy who gets fouled takes the penalty shot?
Isn't that weird?
Total sense. Yes, yeah. So that is a valid reason to hate soccer, and that is a valid grievance.
Couldn't hit, throw a ball in the ocean from the Anglin Pier. And
that's a totally valid grievance for Festivus.
He's replaced by Mbappe. Get out of here, man.
Yeah.
Talk to Sonny about that.
I thanked Andy for reminding me about the $5 seltzer because I already put up my Festivus post on Let's Eat South Florida.
Oh, yeah? What did that include?
And I forgot to include the $5 seltzer. I just put 2 of them up there.
That was a big issue, though. That was one of your bigger issues of the year.
I'm gonna amend and edit my post to include that because I wanted to get the group going and give some of their gripes, and we'll talk about that on the lunchbox today out of Gulfstream. And it's a gloomy day. We might have to be set up under the cover of that poorly lighting restaurant area by the paddock. Instead of we were out on the apron last week and it looked beautiful. I just don't know what the weather is going to do. It'll be
water in the equipment is not a good mix.
No, so we'll probably be under the covers there. But Lubie and I will get out there about 11:15 and we'll figure it out. And I'm looking forward to that. My gripes that I posted this morning.
By the way, no word back from either my connection to Paco Lopez, and I did send a direct text to the great Luca Panici, and he has yet to respond.
Yeah, I thought
Luca might do it though. He's probably exercising horses.
Grab him as he's coming off the track after the first race, and hopefully a winning mount. We'll see. But I always like.
What kind of bomb is he on in the first race, Luca? Because he's usually on.
It's one of the chalks, I think.
Get out of here! Really?
Right. It's like a 4-1 shot. Maybe
that's not my favorite time to bet Luca. I like to bet Luca when he's on like a 30-1 shot. Yeah.
And I also got some steam on a horse that's running in the first race at Tampa at 12:25.
Oh yeah, from your source there in New Jersey?
No, not my New Jersey source. And by the way, they've got one in the first race at Gulfstream. I got to give a text and see. Maybe
a friend of mine's got a horse in the 8th race. I believe won last time out.
Oh, good. Well, no, this is of all things. I ran into a guy who's the part owner of this horse that's going to be running in the first race at Tampa at, of all places, the bar at Tropical Acres when I was there on Monday night for happy
hour. How reliable are these people that are at the bar at Tropical Acres in terms of prognosticating thoroughbred racing?
We're about to find out.
This is a first-time starter in terms of touting you on a horse?
Yeah, no, I've ran into this guy. I've never met him before, but he's a really nice older gentleman in his 80s. He's got a couple of...
he seems sincere.
He seemed sincere, but he seemed also to...
skeptical?
He said he'd rather have this horse cut back and run a sprint.
Uh-oh.
It's
Already an excuse. Yeah.
Cobia Moss, 5-2. Actually, one of the favorites in the first.
Who's riding?
From Marco Meneses. And
See, now, if Luca was on that horse, then it would have been an omen.
well, this is at Tampa. Marco Meneses has gone up there after riding the summer and the fall meets at Gulfstream. And the trainer is named Chris Gaddis. I don't know him that well, but
this is a Tampa Bay Downs, right?
This is the Tampa Bay Downs tout from the part owner of
there's some good tips that float from Tampa Bay.
Cobia Moss. That's it. Cobia Moss. So we'll see what happens there, and I'll get some intel on the first race at Gulfstream, which let's see, I'm gonna look this up right now, and here we go. If my phone works, we go to Gulfstream Park entries. Maiden claiming $35,000 tag. The Luca is on the number 10 horse for Kathleen O'Connell, who I like. 6-1. My Eagles
turf race by chance.
This is scheduled to be on Tapeta. No, I'm sorry, on turf. But if it's taken off turf, it's going to Tapeta. And it's
that's right. It's supposed to be rain. I didn't look outside.
It's pretty gloomy here on the southeast. It's supposed to rain all morning. So
was it yours? Oh no, you're in Daniel. I thought of you because that place where the pipe cracked. And the streets were like flooded. They looked like Barranquilla, Colombia on a rainy day.
Was that Lauderdale or
it was Hollywood? It turned out. I immediately thought of you and the pictures that you always show when it rains more than a half an inch of the surroundings of the Mayo Mansion.
When they forget to turn on the pumps down the block, the crack crew from Public Works in Dania Beach. Luca is on My Eagle Soars, number 10, Kathleen O'Connell, 6-1, and then I've got 6-1, and then I've got my guys, Colts Neck Stables. Jorge Duarte is the trainer, and my buddy is the assistant trainer, and 7-2 Hollywood Close Up the 3. So maybe we'll do a little 3.
Wouldn't they have called you by now if they thought this horse was going to win?
No, I usually reach out to them on the day of and see how it's going.
Yeah, get busy with your phone there.
I get the latest intel, Defo. I got to see if the horse, woke up with a fever, eat his feed in the barn in the morning, all that stuff. You can't go by 2 days out. I mean, this is like if you're going to do an over/under bet on an NFL game in December, don't you want to know what the weather is right at kickoff?
Well, I mean, sometimes these guys know that this one's sitting on a victory.
Yeah,
right. A couple of days before, right? I mean, it's like if you go to the gym and you watch the two opponents in a boxing match, a big match, and you see the one guy's getting niced by his sparring partners and the other guy's looking like Muhammad Ali. You might have a little bit of an insight into what's going on. It's kind of like our trend with the Hawaii Bowl. I mean, if you could get a guy out there in Hawaii to track the two teams behaviorally, you would easily win every time, right? Because one school always is the one that has the quarterback that tries to dive off the 4-story of the motel into the pool, which wasn't filled at the time, although they failed to notice. And the other team is all serious. They're all businessmen. They're all Newt Rockney.
I don't know how anybody bets these bowl games. It's particularly like Lawrence was saying, everybody opting out, it's just
Ken's been all over that for a couple of years now.
Yeah, so it's like,
but that's a good one though. I mean, if you know what's happening.
Well, if you know who's sitting out, and
but you don't.
So, but you were absolutely right about the Jets last night. They're horrendous. If the Dolphins if the Dolphins don't beat that team in the last game of the season, they don't deserve to go to the playoffs, even though they might have it clinched by, I guess, Saturday.
Is this Festivus stuff? Are you complaining about the Dolphins?
I'm kvetching about everything. No, the ones I put on the group, besides $5 seltzer, is when you're at a restaurant and the guy comes to take away your plate before you're done eating.
Oh, I don't like that. Yeah.
And it's like,
and then they come back again and again.
Yeah, they're trying to turn the table. Okay, but I don't know. It's these lost arts of dining, and when you're out at a restaurant, it's like if your utensils are just on the plate randomly, that means you're still eating. If you set your utensils, both the fork and the knife, in the 4:20 p.m. position or 4:20 a.m. or time to get a joint, that means I don't know why it turns
don't
out
you
that
go a Lou
4:20
Duva though to indicate you're done and just throw the napkin in as if
I usually do put the napkin on
Napkin
top.
is the move.
Yeah.
Yes.
The napkin on top would be
It's
an
like
indication
putting
time to
a
take
headstone
the
on the plate. Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two is people in the Let's Eat group, 95,000 strong now.
95.
Nice.
Yeah, we're about to hit the 95,000 plateau today. It's crazy. And but when we have posts pile up. We basically go through and you have to approve every post to weed out the spam and the porn and this and that. So sometimes we're all busy between me and the other admins who are all busy.
There are only
with
like
real
2
jobs.
people
Yeah,
accommodating
it's
the
me and
95,000
Gretchen.
people.
Yeah, it's basically me and Gretchen do the bulk of the work. And
is there a side job in there for us, Lubie and me? We could use a
if I
little
could
extra
get some
income
money
right
out
now.
of these people. Yeah. So but the bottom line is sometimes posts sit for anywhere between could be up to 12 to 36 hours. And when people DM me and say, hey, how come you
You're
haven't
an
approved my
asshole
post
because you didn't put up their post about
It's like, how come you haven't
how do
approved
you
my
like your
post
oatmeal?
yet?
Yeah.
Have you approved my post yet? And then when they do that, it goes to the back of the line. I make sure that.
Oh yeah, well I know with you that's
sits
probably
another
not a
2
good
days.
tactic.
Yeah,
I would
it's
think a very negative
pisses me
approach.
off. Don't piss off the admin, okay?
So what
That's
kind of
always
response are you getting to your various complaints, and how come you didn't mention the $5 seltzer? I would be
because
inclined.
I'm
And
old
egg
and
prices,
feeble
Walmart.
and egg prices.
But you, the sophisticated food critic from the Sun Sentinel, many years, and now with your own show and everything, have to schlep off like some schmank and shop at Walmart just to save $3 on a dozen eggs.
This is what happens when aces keep getting cracked, Defo. It's not pretty.
You
gotta
do,
go to
though. I
Walmart.
mean, are you not? I'm not hearing this from many people, and I am not inclined to utter it yet myself, although I usually feel this way every year, going all the way back to 1951, that whatever the subsequent year is going to be, in this case 2023, is going to be my year. But I'm not hearing that. I mean, I sound like Stephen A. Smith. I'm not hearing that. Why is that? Why is there a subliminal pessimism out there among people? Is it because we've been battered and beaten over the last 4 years between everything that's transpired, from COVID to recessions and all of the different stuff that's gone on, to the very presence of one Donald J. Trump still as a news item every day?
I think that could be it. Number one, he is running for president, and he might be still favored amongst the Republican base. I don't know, but number two, the general pessimism might be because Vladimir Putin has nukes, and he's just crazy enough to maybe use them. So who knows? I mean,
That's
tough times.
wow.
That
was a little macabre there for pre-Christmas.
Happy Festivus.
No wonder she left you. No
All right, well, hobble on down to Gulfstream, and we'll have.
I'm gonna make it there. I may, and this is another one of my. I don't often do this, but I may opt, even though I'm probably going to park relatively close since we'll be there before the first race. But I may opt for the golf cart in, which you always look like a douchebag when you're like 3 feet from the entrance and you get on the golf cart.
You will valet, right? And I do have a handicap.
I don't like to valet my car there because I mean you could just park right there on the side and not have anybody
a little bit. There
going
are
through your car.
extenuating circumstances. You could valet park and really just hobble up.
Yeah, but I can't get the sympathy vote like there was a guy. Remember Ray? He was the chief
Ray was the
guy.
I used to play poker with the game. That was the greatest game of all time. Up at the
I was always taken care of at the
Holiday
valet.
Inn.
I
Ray
never
ran
had to
the
pay
parking.
a fee there. Yeah.
He was
and valet parking has become a little bit prohibitive lately, right? I mean, did they whack you for 20 at that place? I'm not sure.
I don't know, but I think at this point you should put it into your rider that you get the valet when you have a broken toe. We'll talk with Dave about that.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, the free racing for him is one thing. Is your brother going to be there today? That's all that matters.
Yeah, we might have to have him as the guest because Dave didn't come up with anybody last week.
That's okay, man. We could carry an hour. We could easily do that.
I'm confident. Especially, we're going to have
with you with your complaints,
horses.
And there's action. Plus, you have tip horses in the first race
at both tracks.
We're hoping Lucas stops by and
12:10, 12:30. We're on 12-1, so we're going to be hardly paying any attention. Oh, and of course, we're going to have a trivia contest along with the
that was
handicapping.
Amazing. You had that many winning entries last week.
Well,
that overwhelmed me.
The thing, and they went crazy with it.
The key is posting it on the Let's Eat group apart from the video, and then
I'm trying to think though
lots
if
of people see it.
There is another more obvious restaurant than the two that you've already had. Although Monero's was a little bit more difficult to come up with for
one.
I
have one for today. That is actually a current restaurant. It might be It might be a little tricky for people to get, but we'll see. But I'll let you come up with one for next week. But
I got a weird one. Yeah, I'll have a weird one for next week.
do one next week. But I just wanted to start easy. Let people enjoy the game. Let people feel like they have a shot. Let people, get at least
I
the
can't
first
believe
half of the
7 people
equation.
deadlocked for that with having to pick a winning horse in a race with a field of 10. That's crazy.
Well, no, it
You
was,
know.
but yeah, it was a logical horse. It was, I think, the second choice.
But who
So
knows? I mean, come on, these foodies. Like when we start talking about the racetrack, don't
apparently,
you think that they're like, who the hell are these guys? What the fuck are they talking about?
apparently, we've hit the sweet spot of both the foodies and the degenerates.
Oh,
So people
nice.
who both know food and horses. Some of these people are, really seemed attuned to, handicapping and what a racing form is. It's funny out at Even Keel on Wednesday. Those two guys at the end of the bar, Jack and Rick Veitch,
Yeah.
Veitch, I guess they're brothers, and I think one of them is related to the John Veitch, who was the trainer up in New
Oh,
York.
yeah.
But long time, I
Proud
mean,
truth, man. John
but
Beach with Proud Truth.
these guys, they came out. They're longtime members of Let's Eat, and they just came out to support us and check out the show. But they were talking horses with me too, so it's
very
good.
nice. All right,
We got a
hopefully we
good
get you
thing
a couple of
going,
winners.
and
Yeah.
I picked up all my seafood Feast of the Seven Fishes this morning at Delaware Seafood Market out in Hollywood. There was already a big line. It was open at 7 a.m. And I was able to get all my stuff in one fell swoop. $264 later. That was a killer. But
Complaining before you even get to the wife's house to
no,
cook.
but the
she
X,
does all
the
the
X,
rest of the work. You
it's
provide some
best.
raw fish, my
It's the
friend.
best deal. I
like
get
the
the best
sushi
deal.
chef.
I get to go home right after she starts yapping and yelling at me.
Unbelievable, man. She's doing
But
all
no,
the
I
seasoning, marinating, and the cooking.
She's great.
The
She's a
oils
great
and the
chef.
spices.
And if
All
it
right.
wasn't for her, I would have gone up to Joe C. For his Joe Cassell's having his little feast.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a serious oversight on your social calendar to miss that one.
I know.
think
And
so. Looking forward to that. Oddly, Tasso, his dog, who is world renowned, has the very same toy now that one of our dogs, Skippy, loves. And with Skippy, whenever we go out of town and he comes back from where he stays, where he is boarded, I guess it would be. Although that sounds kind of primitive, because they really take very good care of this dog there. But he races up to the 3rd story as soon as we let him out of the car and goes and grabs his squirrel. So I know that this squirrel is addicting, and I'm assuming Tasso has grown a tremendous attachment to it. I was gonna give him another squirrel, also, but what do? Do you get a present for Joe or the dog?
I think you got to get one for both. That's the
I mean, I'll bring a bottle of wine. Is that sufficient for this sort of thing? What do you think?
That's always
Mr.
sufficient.
Etiquette?
I'm glad that you're
a
going.
bottle of wine that I intend to drink.
I love that. That's great. Defoe's
I'm
going
glad that you're going and representing. Thank you, and I'm sure it's going to be delicious.
I'm going to be hoping nobody steps on my toe. I don't know what kind of tight quarters this guy has here, but if it was Big Rich's boat parade party, believe me, I'm a scratch.
Do you need to borrow my mom's handicap parking pass? I have one.
I could use crutches, man. Actually, it would be a lot easier than
and a golf cart. Yes.
What's been happening, because it's causing other areas of my foot to have problems here. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I mean, I did nothing yesterday. Zero. I walked out to the pool. I was going to blast some music and sit in the sun for a while, but there were too many people out there, and I figured they wouldn't dig my music. So I just went back in the house there, and I don't want to get in a jackpot with the homeowners association. All right, you better save some of your appetite there, because I see the food they're bringing at Gulfstream. We're not talking traditional racetrack fare, my friends.
Yeah,
that is a real nice aspect out there. So looking forward to seeing. I don't know what they can lay on you today, man, but it looked like last week was a real feast. All right, now we'll see you later on. Gulfstream Park, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. That's Mike Mayo, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to Mark Lawrence. The professor, of course, brilliant today with his Festivus big board, and the Greek earlier on this morning. It's been great being with you. We'll see you at 12 o'clock. If you don't join us then for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, I want to say happy holidays, everybody. If you want some more selections for the weekend, brilliant. Yesterday, Brandon Lang, Two for the Money fame on our Believe podcast, gave out a lot of stuff, and he's been hot.
Yes.
So you might want to check that out, BLEAV Network. And it's called After Hours with Defo and Lubie, which we've been pretty lame doing it like 1 or 2 days a week.
That's fine.
1 day a week.
The Lang ones are doing pretty well. So
the Lang one, is always worth the listen. That's for sure.
Check it out,
All right, we'll see you later on this afternoon as we leave you know that. And Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and we'll get ready for another big week of doing nothing next week. No, wait, we had a pretty active week this week. Great. Jim Larinaga on the show. All kinds
I
of
was
good
down
stuff.
about 4 times after today.
It's 9:10.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.